A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
The story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, brings you Dragnet on both radio and television.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide, special detail. There are rumors of an impending war between juvenile gangs in your city. Reportedly, members of both gangs are well supplied with homemade weapons. You don't know when the fighting will break out. You don't know where. Your job? Stop it.
Fatima, America's first largest-selling blended cigarette, now king-size.
See the difference, taste the difference, smoke the difference. And in Fatima, the difference is quality.
See the difference. Fatimas are 21% longer.
Taste the difference. Enjoy Fatima's extra mildness. Much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Smoke the difference. Get all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Definitely the best quality in its class, but the same price as the cigarette you're now smoking.
So why wait? Switch to Fatima today. Each king-size Fatima gives you a long, extra mild, and soothing smoke with the added protection of Fatima quality. Buy Fatima.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, October 14th. It was cloudy in Los Angeles. We were working a special detail out of Homicide Division. My partner's Ed Jacobs. The boss is Captain Lorman. My name's Friday. It was 1:18 p.m. when I got to 2015 East 1st Street, the second floor. Big Juvenile Division.
Joe?
Hi. What'd you find out?
Nothing yet. Gardner had to go next door. He'll be back in a minute. Give us a rundown on the thing.
Friday, Ed.
Hi, Gardner.
Hi, how you doing?
Good to see you. How are things going downtown?
Oh, not bad, a little slow. Hear you got problems.
Lots of them. Captain brief you on any of it?
No, he told us to check with you. You'd fill us in. Said maybe you could use some help.
All we can get. We're sitting on top of a bomb out here. We don't know when it's going to go off.
What's the pitch, Gardner?
Juvenile gangs, 5 of them this time. The way we get it, they're ready for trouble, all of them.
High school kids?
Most of them. Some of them are in junior high.
Well, how come 5 gangs? What are they planning, a free-for-all?
It's a long story. They've been building up to this thing for months, all East Side kids. We hear it's supposed to be an open war.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a list of the different gangs involved.
Thanks.
You can see there, same crowds we've been riding herd on for the last couple of years.
Uh-huh.
We've got the Purple Heart Gang, the Blue Devils, the Apaches, Happy Valley, Rose Hill.
Here's the breakdown on each one of them. Hard to get exact figures, but we think it's fairly accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Purple Heart Gang, 26 members. Leader Harold Fry, age 17. Blue Devils, 18 members. Leaders Jack Holland, age 17, and Bertram Willis, 16. The Apaches, 22 members. Leader Robert Lawson, 17. They're supposed to be the strongest bunch.
Well.
Happy Valley Gang, 20 members. Leaders Roy Martin, 16, and Joseph Gomez, 16. Rose Hill Gang, 16 members. Leader Thomas Resnick, 18.
Yeah. Well, what's behind it, Gardner? I mean the gang war that they're supposed to be planning.
A lot of factors enter into it, I guess. It's my own idea. The Apache gang's doing most of the promoting.
What's the object, anyway?
The usual big shot ideas some high school kids get. The Apaches figure they're going to run the whole east side. They've already scared the Happy Valley Gang and the Blue Devils into joining up with them.
Well, how'd they manage that?
I'd like to find out myself.
Well, how about the other 2 crowds there, Rose Hill and the Purple Heart Bunch?
The story I get is they won't come in with the Apaches. They're supposed to be the reason for the war. Either they join up with the Apaches or they fight them. That's the warning they got.
Really playing it big time, huh?
All the way. 16, 17-year-olds. They got gang lieutenants. They got their own cars, their own hideout. Some of them even have their girlfriends running with them, same age. None of them over 17.
Where'd you get your information, Bill?
Half a dozen kids. Most of them from the Blue Devils and the Happy Valley gang. They were mixed up in a couple of after-school fights in Hollenbeck Park. The stories they gave us are enough to curl your hair.
Yeah, how do you mean?
About the big war they're going to have. One of the girls we picked up gave us most of it. 15-year-old. Says her boyfriend's one of the big shots with the Blue Devil.
What'd she have to say?
Talked about it like it was some kind of a game they were playing.
Yeah.
Said the Rose Hill and the Purple Heart gangs were teaming up so they could stand up against the other three. They've been getting ready for the war for 6 weeks. They're really organized.
I don't get it. Who's doing the organizing? Who's promoting it?
I got an idea about that. Get to it in a minute. Take a look at these over here.
Yeah.
Samples of the different weapons the gangs are getting together for the big fight.
Crazy kids.
Brass knuckles. Homemade saps, all kinds.
Well, what's this here, Gardner?
Have a look. Homemade stiletto. Good 6-inch blade. Kids are supposed to have dozens of them. Another one here. Look at this. Ice pick. Anything you can think of, you name it, we got it.
It's going to be wholesale murder if we can't find a way to stop it.
You been able to figure what the real trouble is, Bill?
I got an idea, yeah. You asked about the gangs teaming up a minute ago.
Yeah.
We figure we got a young Hitler on our hands. A kid by the name of Robert Lawson. He's supposed to be the ringleader of the Apache gang. Moved in about a year ago from the Middle West.
How much you know about him?
Wrote a letter to the city he originally came from. Nothing but trouble back there. Bad juvenile record. We've talked to the boy a couple of times. His parents, too. Didn't do much good. Never had enough to file a petition on him and bring him to the attention of the juvenile court. We know he's responsible for a lot of the trouble we got, but he always has some other kid do it for him. Never does it himself.
You think he's responsible for working up the gang war ideas, eh?
We figure he's our biggest problem. We've tried everything to reach the Lawson kid and settle him down. Checked with the teachers at his school, the principal, vice principal. They can't handle him. They figure on expelling him if he doesn't straighten up.
How about the other youngsters in these gangs? I mean, besides this Lawson boy here.
We've got notifications out for them and their parents. They're supposed to be in here tomorrow night, 7:30. Maybe we can break Lawson's hold on these kids.
Sure got me. What's the matter with this Lawson boy's parents? Don't they know what's going on? Can't they control him?
Well, we tried to talk to the parents. They think we're wrong. They're proud of the kid. He's got a high IQ. They think he's a natural-born leader.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. The mother says people just don't understand the boy.
Or maybe you should have told them.
Huh?
San Quentin's full of people we don't understand. The following night, Wednesday, October 15th, the members and ringleaders of the various juvenile gangs, along with their parents, showed up at Hollenbeck Juvenile Division as requested. In questioning each of the youngsters, we definitely confirmed the reports we had of the impending gang war. The interviews also revealed that if and when the fighting did start, it would be more serious than we at first figured. For one thing, there were more youngsters involved than we thought. The gangs had been recruiting new members by the dozen in preparation for the street fights. For another thing, we found out the teenagers weren't carrying around 8-inch knives and brass knuckles just for show. If fighting started, they were ready and willing to use them. We weren't sure how much we could count on it, but after interviewing the parents and advising them how serious the situation was, they promised their full cooperation. Most of them agreed they'd maintain strict check on their youngsters and keep them out of all neighborhood gang activities. Some of the parents took a resentful attitude. They insisted the gangs were harmless. They accused us of picking on the youngsters. A few of the parents didn't even show up at the meeting. Among these were the parents of 17-year-old Robert Lawson, the boy who seemed to be promoting most of the trouble. The following morning, my partner Ed Jacobs and I drove out to his home and we talked with his mother. She was friendly but not too cooperative.
I don't know why you say that, Sergeant. I appreciate you worrying about my boy, but I'm sure it's not as bad as you think.
I don't mean to contradict you, Mrs. Lawson, but I'm afraid it is a lot worse than you think.
It's what the other officers said, too, but you really don't have any proof, do you? I mean, if you idle rumors, you certainly can't accuse Robert on that basis.
We're not accusing Robert of anything, ma'am. That's not the point. What we're trying to do is to head off the trouble before it starts.
You were living in the Middle West before you came to Los Angeles, is that right, ma'am?
Yes, that's right, Nebraska.
Well, wasn't your boy in some kind of trouble back there?
Yes, but it didn't amount to anything. Could have been avoided so easily. They just didn't understand Robert. That was the whole trouble.
Is he an only child, ma'am?
Yes, just Robert. But he's not spoiled. I know it's a great temptation with an only child, but we didn't spoil him. Robert just isn't like that.
You allow him quite a bit of freedom, do you, ma'am? I mean, does he go out at night very often?
Well, he is 17 years old, going on 18. Yes, my husband and I allow him to go out as often as he likes, as long as he keeps up with his studies. Robert's always done very well. Always tops in his class.
Do you know where he spends his time when he goes out at night?
He's usually down at the gym or at the library.
You know that for a fact, do you?
I trust Robert, if that's what you mean. If he tells me that's where he's going, I believe him. The mother can't believe her own son. Who can she believe?
How about the company your boy keeps? You know any of his friends, Mrs. Lawson?
Few, yes. There's the Miller boy and Jack Holland. They seem to be fine boys.
Miller and Holland?
Yes. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with them.
Well, there is, ma'am.
What?
Both of them have juvenile records. Both of them belong to your son's gang.
Really, Sergeant, how can you say that? It isn't fair. Wouldn't it be better to try and understand these boys instead of picking on them, persecuting them?
I don't know how we're going to make you understand, Mrs. Lawson. We're not picking on them. We're not persecuting them. We know there's a gang problem. We know your boy's one of those at the bottom of it. If something isn't done, there's going to be trouble. If we're going to stop it before it begins, we're going to have your help.
I'm perfectly willing to cooperate. You know that. That must be Robert now. Excuse me. Robert? Bob, is that you?
Yeah?
Would you come in here a minute, Bob? We're in the living room.
Yeah? What do you want?
These are police officers, Bobby. This is Sergeant Friday. Sergeant Jacobs, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
How are you?
How do you do?
Hi. How about something to eat? Haven't you got anything ready?
I wasn't expecting you, Bob. Won't take me a minute, though. You sit down there. I'll go out and get a snack together for you. Can I fix you a sandwich, officers? A cup of coffee?
No, thank you.
No,
Thanks very much.
Won't be a minute, Bob. We were just talking about you when you came in.
What's it about, Sergeant? You want to see me, or you just want to talk to my mother?
As long as you're here, we'd like to talk to both of you, Bob.
I got to take off pretty fast. Just getting home to get something to eat. What's it about?
It's about Geronimo. That's the gang's code word for the war you're setting up, isn't it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Your gang, Bob, the Apaches. We talked to half a dozen of them last night down at the Juvenile Division.
Is that right?
Now, look, son, we've got the names of everybody in your gang. We know the whole setup. You go ahead with your idea, and you're going to buy a lot of trouble.
A couple of cops were here last week. They said the same thing. I don't know any more about it now than I did then. Honest. What's the pitch anyway?
You know what the pitch is, youngster.
I don't, honest. You're trying to say I'm in a gang, is that it?
You're in it up to your neck, son. Now, why don't you come off it? We've got you pegged and everybody that runs with you. That includes the girlfriends you got in the gang. You're not fooling anybody.
You must be a little crazy. I'm not in any gang. I never even heard of one around here.
Now, you listen to me, boy. You can take this as a warning or a piece of advice, either way. You and your friends keep on playing punk gangsters, and we're going to lean on you. You understand?
What is this? Trying to scare me?
If it'll make you change your mind, yeah. If this street war comes off, there's going to be big trouble. What do you think's going to happen when 200 kids tangle in a fight with knives and brass knuckles? Now, use your head.
Here you are, Bob. Nice milk, nice bowl of hot soup. Bacon and tomato sandwiches.
You always make the soup too hot.
Oh, I didn't mean to. Let it cool off for a minute, then. Bob has to eat and hurry along, officers. Is there anything else you wanted to talk to him about?
No, I think you've heard everything we have to say. I wish you'd think it over, Mrs. Lawson. You too, Bob.
Nothing to think over. They're trying to say I'm in a gang. They think I'm the leader.
You told them, didn't you, son?
Sure. They don't believe me.
I wish I could make you understand, Sergeant. He's not a gang leader. Robert's telling the truth.
Afraid he isn't, ma'am.
Well, he is. I know he is. I mean, after all, he's my son. I'm in a position to know him better than you do.
Yes, ma'am.
If he was lying, I'd know it. I wish I could make you understand. Mother's the only one who really knows her boy. I know Robert's telling the truth. Aren't you, Robert? Robert?
Huh?
That's so, isn't it? You're telling the truth, aren't you?
Sure. How about some more soup?
Before we left the house, we tried again to talk to Robert Lawson and his mother, but it was no use. She believed every word he said, and he apparently refused to believe the possible consequences of the war he was planning for his gang of juveniles. We drove downtown and had an interview with the boy's father at his work. He was even less cooperative. He took on a belligerent attitude, accused us of persecuting his son, and ordered us out of the office. Along with Sergeant Bill Gardner and Frank Kerber, we spent the rest of the afternoon and most of the following day checking with parents of youngsters who had been recently recruited into one of the various East Side gangs. Most of them were cooperative. Late that afternoon, Bill Gardner, Ed, and myself met with Captain Stein back at Hollenbeck Juvenile.
Strict curfew all over the area. We can start tonight.
What do you figure, just on the weekends?
Every night. Sunday to Sunday. I'll get some more men in to help out. Every youngster out in the street after 10 o'clock gets stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of them caught with knives, saps, brass knuckles, or anything like them, they're going to be pulled in and filed on. No exceptions. Be a lot safer in custody than mixing in the gang fight.
Well, it ought to help. Might teach some of the parents a lesson anyway.
Yeah. Excuse me. Juvenile Division, Stein. Where was that? When? Yeah, right away. Let's hustle at Evergreen Avenue out near the cemetery.
Yeah, what is it?
Curfew was a good idea. We got it too late.
Huh?
Gang war, it's already started.
Before we left the office, we had communications notify all J cars on the special detail to proceed at once to the scene of the Major 415 call. 10 cars were ordered to cruise the area surrounding the actual scene of the fight and to pick up any and all members of the juvenile gangs who showed any evidence of having been in the fight or had in their possession any deadly weapon. Captain Stein, Bill Gardner, Ed, and myself left the office on a Code 3 and drove out to the scene of the gang fight. When we got there, all the J cars and 3 radio crews had the area blocked off. An ambulance crew was treating more than a dozen youngsters who had been injured during the fight. One of the youngsters had a lacerated eye. He'd been blinded. Most of the other victims would carry scars for the rest of their lives. The juveniles who'd taken part in the battle and who'd been lucky enough to escape without serious injury were being loaded into the J cars and the radio cars. They were to be removed to juvenile headquarters at 1335 Georgia Street for further investigation. Together with Bill Gardner and Frank Kerber, Ed and I began covering the area, collecting dozens of homemade weapons used in the gang fight. They'd be turned over to Pete Brown, Hollenbeck Juvenile, to be booked as evidence.
Joe?
Yeah, Ed.
Come here a minute. Over here.
Yeah.
Have a look. Piece of chain, bloodstains on it.
Lousy. How vicious can it get?
Come on. All right.
Across the street there, the car in the driveway?
Yeah.
Help him. He's hurt. Somebody help him, Bobby.
What's the trouble?
Bobby, he was in the fight with the gang. They stabbed him. He's in the car.
Come on.
What is it, Joe?
Take a look.
The Lawson boy, huh?
Yeah, knife in his chest.
Want me to get the doctor?
Yeah, call the coroner, too.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action.
Fatima, America's first largest-selling blended cigarette, now king size.
See the difference, taste the difference, smoke the difference. And in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Yes, you get all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has. That's why week in, week out, year after year, more smokers are switching to Fatimas.
1950, Fatima sales higher than ever before in Fatima history.
1951, another record year. Fatima sales up and up. Why, in 1 month alone, Fatima sales up 110% coast to coast.
Friends, in the first months of 1952, to show our confidence in Fatima, we are making a special money-back guarantee to every king-size cigarette smoker.
Buy a pack of Fatimas. Enjoy Fatima quality, extra mildness, and superbly blended tobaccos.
If you're not convinced Fatima is better than the king-size cigarette you're now smoking, just return the pack and the unsmoked Fatimas before April 1st, and we'll give you your money back plus postage. Fatima, Box 37, New York 1.
Remember, each king-size Fatima gives you a long, extra mild, and soothing smoke with the added protection of Fatima quality. Buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Thursday, October 16th, 5:35 p.m. After the discovery of Robert Lawson's body in the car parked in the driveway adjoining the cemetery grounds, Ed brought the doctor over from the ambulance. The 17-year-old Lawson boy was pronounced dead. The doctor made out the prescribed form and marked it DOA. While we waited for the crime lab crew and the coroner to get there, Ed and I questioned the girl who'd led us to the body. She identified herself as Ann Porter, age 16. She told us she was Bob Lawson's girlfriend. She readily admitted accompanying him to the scene of the gang fight that afternoon.
I knew what it was going to be like. I knew right then. I came closer. Bob told the kids to get ready. They were a little ways from us when they stopped. The other gang, the Purple Hearts.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a kid by the name of Jumpy. He's the leader. He stepped out in front of them and called to Bob. Called him a bad name, said bad things.
This boy you called Jumpy, you know his real name, Ann?
No, Jumpy's only his nickname. I know him when I see him, though. I can point him out.
Well, what happened after he called Bob?
I don't know.
What?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Everything seemed to happen at once. Bob swore at me, pushed me back, told me to get out of the way. Then he walked up to this kid, Jumpy, right in front of their whole gang. I screamed at Bob. I screamed at him not to.
Why'd you scream? What'd you do?
He had a chain under his coat. It was kind of a short whip-like. Bob had it doubled up.
Yeah.
When he went up to Jumpy, Bob had a cigarette in his mouth. He told Jumpy to light it for him. It's supposed to mean he's chicken if he does it. Jumpy laughed at him. Bob took out the chain, hit him across the face with it. Hit him with all his might.
Mm-hmm.
It knocked Jumpy down. He was laying on the sidewalk. His face was cut bad. Bob had the chain, kept hitting him with it. And somebody gave a yell, and both the gangs started fighting.
Were you close to Bob Lawson most of the time?
No, not first. There was a lot of yelling and kicking and fighting going on. I ran around and was looking for him. Finally saw Bob. I'm not sure it happened so fast.
What happened then?
I'm not sure. I thought I saw Jumpy pull a knife on Bob. Long and thin, maybe an ice pick.
Yeah.
Bobby was still hitting with the chain. It looked like Jumpy hit Bob in the chest with something right over the heart. Bobby stopped. Jumpy did it again. Bobby got white. He looked sick. He turned around and started to run.
Well, what happened then?
Bobby kept running. I knew he was hurt. I went after him. I saw him fall, but he got up. He kept running. Then one of the other gang grabbed me. They hit me.
It's all right. We understand.
I didn't find Bob until the fight was over. I heard the cops' cars coming, sirens, coming around from everywhere. I felt sick. I finally found Bob, though. He was laying in the back seat of the car, just laying there.
And that's when you called out?
Yes. I guess I knew it. As soon as I looked at him, dead white as a sheet. It ain't easy. Not when you find somebody dead, not somebody you love.
All right, youngster. It'll be all right. It'll be all right.
You're lying. You know that. It won't be all right.
Take it easy, Ann.
I loved Bob. Didn't you know that? When he graduated, the first thing we were going to get married. As soon as he got out of school, we'd be married. We'd be married.
Ann? Ann?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 16. Why?
Nothing. It happens to practically everybody.
What?
People seem to make a lot of mistakes when they're 16. 6:30 p.m. The crime lab crew arrived, took pictures of the entire scene along with all physical evidence, and dusted the murder weapon, an 8-inch knife, for fingerprints. The coroner arrived, and after we'd completed our investigation, he removed the body to the county morgue. Along with a policewoman, we took Robert Lawson's girlfriend, 16-year-old Ann Porter, down to Georgia Street Juvenile Division to the assembly room. There, a special show-up was held of all the boys involved in the afternoon's fight. The Porter girl identified a 17-year-old by the name of Warren Stone, nicknamed Jumpy, as the boy who'd stabbed Robert Lawson to death. At least a dozen other subjects in the case identified the boy by his nickname, Jumpy. 3 members of either gang involved in the fight declared in sworn statements that Warren Stone was the boy who'd attacked the Lawson boy with a homemade knife. Statements were taken from all concerned, and the ringleaders of the gangs were detained. The other subjects were released to their parents' custody after being notified that they would be filed on and a hearing held in juvenile court. Ann Porter was returned home by a policewoman. 7:55 p.m., Ed Jacobs and I took the subject, Warren Stone, to the captain's office where we tried to question him about the murder. He refused to say anything.
I told you the truth. I told you the whole story. I don't have to tell you again.
We're pretty sure you didn't tell us the truth, Warren. We know you tangled with Bob Lawson in that fight this afternoon.
No, I didn't.
We've got statements from a dozen kids, son. They say Lawson had a piece of chain. He kept slugging you with it. They say you pulled a knife and stabbed him.
How do they know? A lot of kids there had knives. Anybody could have stabbed it. Why are you picking on me?
It was your knife. It was your knife that killed him. Your initials on it.
I lost the knife in the fight. Somebody could have picked it up, used it.
No, that won't do, youngster. The handle of the knife's been processed. Your fingerprints are all over it.
How about it, son?
Warren? Come on now. What do you got to say?
Nothing. I killed him.
8:40 p.m. Warren Stone was booked in at Georgia Street Jail on suspicion of 187 PC, murder. Ed and I got in the car and drove out to the home of the murder victim to notify his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Robert Lawson. Mr. Lawson wasn't home from work yet. We broke the news of her son's death to Mrs. Lawson as gently as we could. She became hysterical, and we called the family doctor, who gave her sedatives. Later, when she recovered herself a bit, she asked for the full story. We told her.
How could it happen? Bobby, how could it happen?
Sorry, ma'am. There's not much we can say. We tried everything we could to stop it.
But you didn't stop it. You let them kill Bobby. You let them kill him.
No, ma'am. We tried to warn him. We tried to warn all of them. We're sorry.
You're not sorry. You didn't try. Bob's dead. Everything I had. He's 17 years old and he's dead. I can thank you for that. My only baby.
We're sorry you feel that way, Mrs. Lawson.
Why shouldn't I feel that way? You call yourselves policemen. That boy who killed Bobby, you should have had him in jail in the first place. Young killer. Running around loose, you're as guilty as he is.
I'm not defending him, ma'am, but he wasn't a young killer. Didn't even have a juvenile record.
I don't care anything about records. He's a killer. He took a knife and he killed Bob, and you let him do it. You let him.
I think we better be going in.
Yeah.
You or your husband will have to identify the body, and tomorrow morning will be all right, the county morgue.
Dear God.
You'll have to be at the coroner's inquest, too. You'll be notified about the time and the date.
I hope you have to live with this. I hope you live with it like I have to live with it. I hope it drives you crazy.
I know how you feel, ma'am, but you're wrong. I think you'll realize that.
They murdered Bob. You let them kill him. I'll always remember that.
All right. And you remember something else. The last time we came here to your house, we tried to make you understand.
You didn't know Bobby. You didn't understand him. I was the only one. I always knew what he was thinking, what he wanted, what he was going to do. I was the only one.
No, ma'am, there was somebody else.
What?
The boy who killed him.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On November 7th, the hearing was held in Juvenile Court, Department 38, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that hearing.
And now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, just as a hobby, I've been collecting early jazz records, blues and two-beat music like Leon Bix Beiderbecke used to play, and, of course, just about everything Benny Goodman has done. I've always tried to build my collection on quality. Now, in my opinion, that's the only rule to follow in choosing a king-size cigarette. Choose for quality. Believe me, I know that's what you'll find in Fatima. I know because I smoke them. If you haven't, here's what I'd like you to do. Get a pack tomorrow and compare them. When you see the difference, taste the difference, and then smoke that difference, I'm convinced that you'll switch to Fatima. Because in Fatima, the difference is quality. Each king-size Fatima gives you a long, extra mild and soothing smoke with the added protection of Fatima quality. Next time, buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
17-year-old Warren Ernest Stone was filed on alleging violation of 187 PC, murder. The rest of the juvenile gang ringleaders were filed on alleging 242 PC, battery. They were all made wards of the juvenile court and placed in detention homes under the supervision of the State Youth Authority. They are still confined in state institutions for juveniles. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Heard tonight were Barney Phillips, Charles Smith, and Eddie Firestone. Script by Jim Moser. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles. Next, it's David Harding and Counter Spy on NBC.
My name's Regan. I get 10 a day in expenses from a detective bureau run by a guy named Anthony J. Lyon. They call me the Lion's Eye.
With Jack Webb as Jeff Regan, the Lion's Eye, stand by for hard-boiled action and mystery and thrilling adventure in tonight's story of the guy from Gower Gulch.
It's a gray building, about the color of moldy bread. It's an apartment house in the middle of Hollywood, and it figures that the guy who built it quit voting when they named the street it sits on, Taft Avenue. My place is furnished with war surplus from the Spanish-American War. Well, it's got a hat rack, and that's where I live, number 308. In back, where you get a view and some fresh air from the alley. One's about as bad as the other. But I got it fixed up kind of nice. Hot plate, coffee pot, an autographed picture of Sally Rand that somebody left there. Only mistake I made was putting in a telephone. It spoils a lot of things.
Regan, Mr. Lyon, wake up. We got a job.
Why don't you sleep at night?
Lucky for you, I got insomnia. We go broke.
Try Ovaltine. What kind of a job?
How should I know? Get your clothes on.
What are you doing, reading the want ads?
I got a note from a client.
You mean you got money?
$100 is all. Says he'll match it if we run him an errand.
Where to? Santa Ana Canyon?
He'll tell you.
You know, if you got morals like a cash register, can he write his name?
Davy Crockett. He's 50 years old.
Well, he's a little old for cowboys and Indians, isn't he?
That's his name, Davy Crockett.
Well, when's the wagon train pull out?
Regan, I don't know how I stand for you. Get over there.
Get where?
Listen, a guy works pretty hard. Building up a business like I have takes a lot out of him.
You got plenty on tap.
I just want you to understand, that's all. Money doesn't grow on trees. Now, sometimes you gotta play your hunches.
Like George Gallup.
This time I got a feeling the guy's okay. He writes like a gentleman, Regan. I want you to treat him like one.
Well, where do I find him?
He's in a location can give us a lot of business.
Where?
The city jail.
Yeah, that's the Lion. Born under the sign of the dollar. Well, it happened on Monday night, and I found the Lincoln Heights jail looking real tired after a rough weekend. They were putting fresh creosote on the walls in front of the drunk tank, and the guy at the desk looked like he'd burst his radiator if anybody phoned for another reservation. It was about 1 a.m., but after a couple of jokes I know about alligators, Sergeant Gonzalez hauled out a drawer with some cards in it. Under C, he found it. Full name, David Crockett, cell 273, solitary. Gonzalez walked me through a couple of corridors, and then he opened his cell and let me inside. Davy Crockett was there, awake and standing up. He was about 4 feet high, skinny, with a head like a sunburned turnip. He had blue veins roaming all over his nose and a handlebar mustache to hold him up. He looked at me like I was holding the fifth ace.
Howdy, stranger.
My name's Regan, International Detective Bureau.
How do I know? Start anything and I'll set up a racket.
Now, I work for the Lion. You called him.
Maybe yes, maybe no. You got credentials?
Where do you want him?
Easy, son. Not talking to an amateur. Flyweight champion, Buenos Aires, 29. Grab yourself a squat, partner.
What are you so nervous about?
Nothing. Precautious, that's all.
All right, look, let's start at the beginning, shall we? What are you locked up for?
Fire plug. Got him in the dangest places in this burg.
What'd you do, steal it for your dog?
No. Parked my landlady's car alongside it while I ran an errand.
You don't get jugged for traffic tickets.
There were 2 cops. Looked like a posse. I don't like injustice.
All right, resisting arrest, is that all?
What more do you want? Told you I'm not a man to be trampled with. Taught judo in Tokyo, 34.
The Japs still lost the war.
Sit still, Regan. You're working.
On what?
Well, it's just another errand. It's not much.
Well, come on, let's pick up the tempo, will you? My bicycle's double parked.
Say, you ever get saddle sores on a bicycle? I did once. 8-day race.
Yeah, I know. Now, what about this errand?
Little package wrapped up in a sweater in the alley by the ash can.
Go on.
I calculate I dropped it about 3.5 feet to the left of the big ash can.
By accident?
Man can't fight with his hands full. I'll get down the address for you here.
All right. What's in that sweater you didn't want the cops to see?
A polecat.
That fits the rest of your story, yeah.
Son, there's nothing in the life of Davy Crockett won't stand inspection. When you get the package, check it in at the Union Station.
And then what?
Save me the stub. You get 100.
Save it for bail. You could do this job yourself.
That's what I told you, Sonny. I'd like to be lonesome.
So you had him lock you up on purpose?
No, I just like it here. You want a reference? Check any of the boys in Gower Gulch.
Movie cowboy, huh?
Laddie, you're looking at the greatest jockey since Paul Revere. Eddie Sand to Eddie Arcaro. I beat them all. Kentucky Downs, 39.
Yeah, sure. Well, a job's a job, Davy, but I got a hot tip where I fit in.
Where's that?
Trailing the field. Well, I left the little man running his fingers through an old copy of Variety, and I went out into the street. It was about 3 o'clock, and a truck was throwing some water out and giving the gutter a shampoo. I picked up my car and started out to play retriever. That's when I spotted the blonde tailing me. She was using a 37 Packard, and the top was down. I could see her in the mirror. I could tell she had yellow hair like a rag doll. It took a few fast turns to get rid of her, but then I was solo when I pulled to a stop by the alley off Gower. It was in back of some old movie studios. About then, a drunk came pouring down the street, did a loop around a fire plug at the head of the alley, and sat down. He was the talented kind, and I figured he thought I was Arthur Godfrey. Well, I scrambled over some broken beer bottles looking for the sweater. It finally showed, lying beside a pack of newspaper and some dame's torn petticoat. That's when the drunk lost his tilt and began looking at me. I picked up an old shoe, I wrapped it in a newspaper, and I started out of the alley. The drunk went back to his audition, moving toward me.
Marie, the dawn is breaking. Marie, you'll soon be waking. Hiya, friend. Have a drink.
That's not my brand.
Don't be a mug. A little drink between friends is real nice.
Well, we haven't been introduced.
My name's Maxwell. What's yours?
Slipped my mind.
That's the trouble with the whole world. No fellowship. Except for my girl, Marie. You know Marie?
No, I don't.
Sort of short and plump with a little sinus trouble.
It's too bad.
Thought you might have met her. Lots of fellowship in that girl. Every time you look, another fella.
All right, move it, buddy.
Now, you don't want to get by me, friends. You want to stand right there and have a little drink.
You got the subject we're going to talk about?
Yeah, sure. Here, what's in the package?
Dirty laundry.
Ain't that funny, though? I just got me a new Bendix.
Why don't you go into business?
That's what I'm going to do. You're my first customer.
No, I lux my dainties.
Yeah, don't go away, friend. I ain't through with my sales talk.
Well, hire a skywriter.
Hold up, I said.
Get your hands off of me.
All right, Regan, the round's over.
Yeah, what makes you the referee?
This does.
Fendi wants to play rough, Red.
Reconsider, Regan. It'll make you happy.
All right, what do you want?
The package.
You heard what he said, smart guy.
Why don't you work for it?
Grab him, Max. Don't leave, Regan. We're not finished.
I got the package, Red.
Give him a tip for picking it up.
Sure.
Oh.
Guess I overpaid him.
Well, it was easy to see it was their play. I had about as much chance as a midget in a basketball game. The muscles ambled off with the package that they took from me, and I crawled back for that sweater. It was still there, wrapped around something hard and round. And when I ripped it off, a shine caught my eye. It was a metal can of movie film, and the word Peru was marked on it. Not much for all the hush-hush, but it must have had a story. Well, I looked up a friend of mine who owned a camera shop, and I made a commotion with a $5 bill. That shook the sand out of him, and he rented me a projector with sound. The Lyons house was the next stop. We threw up a sheet on the wall and turned on the film. That completed the night. We had a trip to a good neighbor without a passport. Turned out to be a Joan Fitzpatrick giving us some kind of a travelogue.
The most colorful in the world. A temple of worship. Home of Peru, 2,000 years old.
Well, stop screaming, will you? It's free.
You know I can't stand movies. I got sore eyes.
All right, shut up and listen to this.
New Peru. The marketplace. A A street vendor dressed in gay native costumes, selling delicacies to Peruvian children. Beads and jewels of exquisite beauty wrought by the hands of master Peruvian artisans. Horse racing and innovations from the modern world. And native dance.
I'm going to bed.
You won't sleep. I stole your eye shade.
Oh, Regan, I got to get up early. I got lots to do.
It'll keep.
A veritable symphony of motion. And so, it's with heavy heart we say adieu to lovely Peru, land of the Peruvians, land of charm and enchantment. And with the setting sun, we take our leave.
Well, what'd you get out of it?
A headache.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in the morning.
No, I can't wait.
What you doing now?
I'm phoning the city jail.
Looking for a room?
Looking for information. Davey will supply it.
You've been drinking.
Now listen, big shot. Somebody's after this film for some reason. I'm going to find it.
City Jail, Sergeant Gonzalez speaking.
Danny's Regan.
Oh, hiya, Regan. I'm glad you called. I just got the joke about the alligators.
Now, well, do me a favor, will you?
Sure, pal, sure. See, I told it to the lieutenant. He's still laughing. You know, it may earn me a promotion, pal.
Let me talk to Davy Crockett.
Oh, I can't do that, Regan.
Well, you can say I'm his lawyer.
Well, it's not that, pal. He's not here anymore.
What do you mean?
Some guy bailed him out 20 minutes ago. When I was telling the lieutenant the joke, this guy in the briefcase comes in, slaps down the bail. Out walks your friend.
Well, he said he liked it there.
And Davey must have changed his mind.
Where'd he go?
Not very far. Just over to the morgue.
Well, the cowboy from Gower Gulch had spun his last yarn. Gonzalez told me that somebody had shot Crockett as soon as he hit the street. Oh, none of this made sense. The phony job, the blonde who tails me, the fight in the alley, the corny movie. Now, the lion shoved the film in a desk, and I went out the door. I cut across his yard, but I stopped on the opposite sidewalk. My car wasn't alone. There was a 40-foot nag sniffing at its rear fender.
Hey, Regan.
Well, Maxwell.
That's me.
You look different. Did you take the cure?
Shut up. Somebody wants to see you.
If it's Marie, tell her my book's full.
Thought you might like a lift.
No, I got a friend who runs a streetcar, and I go on, beat it.
Regan, don't be that way.
Offer him a panatella, Maxwell.
Who's this, your father-in-law?
You smoke, Regan?
No, it might explode.
Yeah.
So long.
Hold it, Buster. Get in.
Oh, Max. Max, I told you before, you're on probation.
Oh, that's all right. Don't pick on him, teacher. He didn't hurt me.
Get in front, Max.
Sure.
Where's your other boy, Red? We could play some bridge.
I thought he'd do better in the shoe business.
The one I gave him didn't fit, huh?
I'm a much misunderstood man, Mr. Regan. I'm sure you'll put your best foot forward.
I'd love to.
My card, Horace Grundy. Sometime earlier, a little man called me, Mr. Regan. Custer or Boone or...
Davy Crockett?
Of course. I want you to understand I get many such calls.
Party line.
It's a private number, but the salesmen bother me anyway.
Well, it's tough to be popular. Davy tell you what he was selling?
No.
Well, he didn't tell me either.
Have it your own way. When I told him I'd meet him, he said he'd arranged to get out of jail. He said all he wanted was a job.
And he got one.
Yes, only there's no future to it. I wouldn't want anything like that happening to you, Mr. Regan.
I'll renew my insurance.
Oh, no, you'll come with me. It's more friendly.
Suppose I don't like to talk.
You won't have to, if everything goes all right.
Well, it's your taxi.
And you're paying the fare. All right, Maxwell. Cloverfield.
I never knew a guy could say the name of an airport and make it sound like Forest Lawn. Grundy sat in the corner checking the manicure on his fingernails, and Maxwell drove out Olympic. By the time we skidded into Clover, I figured absolutely nothing. It was still only 4 a.m., but there was a string of cars parked in the lot. I spotted a 37 Packard Roadster, but I was too busy getting rushed up onto the field to look for the blonde. Besides, the faster we ran, the more excited Grundy got. And then we rounded a hangar, and the reporters hit us.
Say, Louis B's pretty sore, huh?
No. Louis B and I are friends. Just his plugs are burned. Put it through, boys.
Hey, wait a second. This Julio who's traveling on the plane. They say he wants $250,000. You going to pay him today?
After I see a workout. Come on, Regan, let's go.
Yeah, you're a real big man, Grundy.
I'm going to be, Regan. El Romano, best rep of any horse in South America.
So that's it, huh? Where the ruins come from.
What's that?
Peru?
Oh, sure. Peruvian National Airways gave Julio a special plane. Everything special.
Like in the movies. Well, look, suppose you watch him unload. I'll take a back seat here.
Oh, no, Regan. This is a big day. I want you to see what's the ambulance for.
Well, don't look at me.
Stick around, Regan. It could be you.
Hey, get that stretcher over there.
Oh, he kicked me, hit me, kicked me.
Julio. That the guy who owns him?
Must be. I tried to hold him. The halter break my rib.
Take it easy, boy. We got you.
What happened?
Bounce. The landing she is rough, that is all. Where is the doctor?
You're going to the hospital. Lie down.
I'm broken in 6 places.
Lift up the stretcher. Come on, boys. Hurry it up.
Oh, he kicked me. Move fast, boys. Yes, hot.
Hey, Mr. Grundy! Mr. Grundy! Mr. Grundy, the horse!
Well, the guy on the plane started to yell just about the time they took Julio toward the rear of the ambulance. Grundy took a dive for the cargo door, and so did everybody else. Then I had to stand there while 6 feet of big shot cigar turned into a crybaby.
Look, Regan. Look at the horse's leg. He's kicked himself.
Okay, so he's clumsy.
But he might not run again. He was going to be mine, Regan.
That's too bad. Call a vet.
I have already paid $50,000 retainer on the horse, Regan.
I'll send you a lawyer.
I got an idea you're connected with this.
Oh, dry up, Buster. It's an accident.
Yeah? I got an idea there's going to be another accident.
Grundy, maybe you're right.
Go!
Hey, stop him! I didn't wait to see if he went down. Maxwell swung, but I took off through the crowd. It figured that Cloverfield wasn't for me, and I wasn't going to stick around for the daisies. And then I spotted a ride, the rear end of Julio's ambulance. I made it just as the buggy started to move. I pulled the door shut and tried not to step on that stretcher inside. I shouldn't even have bothered that. The stretcher was empty. The only patient was me.
You are listening to the story of the guy from Gower Gulch. Tonight's adventure with Jeff Regan, Investigator. Commissions are still available in the Army Nurse Corps Reserve. Graduate registered nurses between the ages of 21 and 45 may qualify for service with this fine organization. If you are interested in joining the Army Nurse Corps and believe that you qualify for a commission, apply to the Adjutant General, Washington, D.C. And now, back to Jeff Regan, Investigator, and the story of the guy from Gower Gulch.
Well, things were beginning to move like a hula dancer with a hot foot. Davy Crockett sent me out to pick up a roll of movie film. A Joan Fitzpatrick travelogue on beautiful Peru. There was something in it that was hot, but Crockett got himself plugged before he could say what it was. There were shots of a horse race in Peru. And when a big buster named Grundy turns up buying a nag from a Peruvian breeder, I figured a connection. So did when the horse got hurt and Julio did a disappearing act with his money, everybody looked at me. That's when I took the shortest way to Hollywood in an ambulance, got my car, and made it for home. Only parked up the street from my apartment was that same 37 Packard Roadster I'd been dodging all evening. The blonde wasn't in it. She was sitting in my place, looking real hopeful.
Good evening. You keep late hours, Mr. Regan.
That's the kind of friends I've got.
Perhaps you ought to change them.
I'll stick it out. What do you want?
A little chance to talk to you.
It'll keep till morning.
Oh, but Mr. Regan, I've been waiting so long, you've got to talk to me now.
Why?
I'm Davy Crockett's wife. You've got something that belongs to me.
I don't see any wedding ring.
I don't wear one.
Scare off the other boys?
That's not a very nice remark, Mr. Regan.
No, but you'll let it go.
Only because it's not important.
Oh, stop it. You're not Davy's wife. If the little guy had anybody he could trust, he wouldn't have had to call him a lion.
All right, Mr. Regan. I lied.
Now, let's have it, lady. What are you after?
A roll of film.
That figures.
It's mine.
Convince me.
Mr. Regan, you're becoming very annoying.
Well, why don't you call the police?
But I tell you, it is mine.
Let's see the pink slip.
And so it is with heavy heart we bid adieu
That's
to...
enough. Yeah. I thought I knew that voice.
Davy stole the roll from my library. Now may I have it back?
Homicide will turn it over to you when they're ready.
I can't wait.
Well, what makes it so valuable?
I'm not sure.
Then how do you know it is?
Because I'm not stupid, Mr. Regan. Somebody goes to a lot of trouble to break into my film library. But he only steals one roll of film.
Go on.
I put the police on Davy, follow them to the jail. So you go after the film. That adds up to pretty important business.
Did you push those holes in Davy?
Of course not.
Yeah, you're going to get a chance to prove that when Homicide starts speaking in your cupboard.
About the film, I'll buy it from you.
No sale. There's the door, lady. Use it. I threw the light switch and grabbed for the floor. When the noise stopped, I looked up. My landlady was going to be mad. The shots plowed a few holes into her flower pot. The blonde turned a couple of different colors and decided she could find safer company. She left with a fire escape without even goodbye. I headed for the Lions. The idea being to make sure that he'd turn that film over to the police and advertise that I didn't have it anymore. I figured to cool me off and I could catch some sleep again. When I got there, the Lion looked kind of excited. He was wrapped up in a silk robe with red and gray stripes, and he carried a drink to match. He was holding a piece of that movie film up to the light.
Hey, Regan, I've been calling all over for you. Where you been?
I'm looking for a bed.
I don't pay you to sleep. You're on a job. Now, I've been thinking since you left. We're handling this wrong.
Yeah, now that's what I figured. Get on the phone.
What for?
To tell Homicide you got a package for him. You're turning over that film right now.
Easy.
You heard me, Big Shot. I'm tired of playing the fall guy.
Now, Regan, you don't know what you're saying. I've been running over the section on that Peruvian horse race. And you know what?
You picked the winner.
And we're going to collect.
Who's making books?
The insurance company.
Well, come on, clear it up.
Look at this clip.
Yeah.
Well, what do you see? What do you see?
Looks like a horse.
But look at him. He's way out in front. El Romano.
Yeah, maybe.
Now, here's the way I add it up. This film tells a story, or everybody wouldn't be grubbing around for it.
Well, now, that takes a big brain.
So somebody's engineering a phony.
Who?
That's what you're going to find out. But I'll tell you one thing. That nag's insured by Banner Trust, and they pay off big if we can turn up the swindle.
All right. Give me that picture.
Where you going?
Over to Grundy's to check the horse.
Now you're talking, Regan. You dig that out and we'll be eating squab.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you'll be collecting your unemployment insurance.
Yeah, well, payoff's about the same. I didn't like it any better than a fan dancer like the wind tunnel. I'd already seen enough of Grundy and his boys for one night, but when the Lion gets an idea, he's like a hangman with a new rope. So I went out to test it. I found Horace Grundy's place. It was a bright new house in the San Fernando Valley. There was some fancy fence in back, and a stable looked like the paint was still wet where it said El Romano. A trailer was parked on the road with a truck from the veterinarians. When Grundy opened the front door, it looked like he'd been sitting a 3-day wake, but without any beer.
Hello, Regan.
Well, what's the verdict?
It's bad, Regan. Bad. Tendons torn. Never run. Never.
Yeah, you said that.
I can't believe it.
Uh-huh. I knew somebody else liked animals. A guy from Gower Gulch.
Decided to talk?
Maybe. If you keep your hands in the audience.
What else did Crockett say?
Now you got him on the wheel.
All right, you drive.
That's better. You know the horse is insured?
Not by me, it isn't.
You don't own it. You just paid a deposit.
Sure, 50 G's.
You got it back yet?
There's plenty of time. Julio's in the hospital.
Oh? Well, now, if it wasn't for the accident, you would have coughed up another $200,000.
Yes. No. Oh, what difference does it make? The whole deal's a bust now.
Well, that horse is a phony.
Say some more, Regan.
I don't know much more. Davy Crockett was a movie fan.
You're doing fine. You had pictures?
I wouldn't advertise them, but there's a shot of a horse winning a race. Take a look here.
Give me that.
It's economy size. You're going to ruin your eyesight.
I got a magnifying glass for my income tax.
Well, let's get a light behind it. Now, let's see.
Horse.
You get a star.
4 white feet.
I can do that well myself.
Listen, Regan. Horse in the stable's got 3.
That does it. My boss gets promoted.
Come on outside. I'll show you.
I'll take your word for it. Let go of me. I got my information.
Maxwell, where are you?
I told you, don't whistle the bulldogs.
You're in it now, Regan. You're on my side.
I drop your blood pressure. There's a handkerchief on the plate.
Hey, wait. Hello. I look for somebody. Good morning.
Pan America.
See, I'm Julio. Is Mr. Grundy?
It's the guy with his mouth open there.
How do you do? I'm so glad to meet and
talk. Show
Okay?
You switch horses.
No, you'll not understand. El Romano, he kicked me.
Wait for the encore.
Mr. Grundy, with belief, I'm telling you.
Now, look, you better make it fast, Julio. This guy goes
Shut
off.
up, Regan. A man trades a stretcher for a slab. Let him talk.
The hospital. I did not go. Julio is honest. A debt comes first.
The interest's going up.
When El Romano hurts himself, I know the deal is off. I know I must see the consul, so we cash the check.
What?
Here we are. 10,000, 20, 30, 40, 50. Your down payment is up. Now we are one big happy United Nations, no?
Well, that's what happened. Now there were 2 guys with their mouths open. By the time we got them closed, the little gent from Peru had waddled off someplace, and Grundy folded his money and started to laugh. He was happy, and at least I had what I came for. Figured I could dump the whole plate of spaghetti on the Lion. The lead horse in the travelogue was a different nag from the one in the stable. So I got in my car and headed for home. But I picked up a newspaper on the corner, and then the whole bucket turned upside down again. The green sheet was loaded with publicity shots of El Romano from South America, and he was exactly the same oat burner that came in on the plane, feet and all. No switch there. Well, there was something phony in this act. It was that winner in that Fitzpatrick film. Well, for a minute I felt like a test pilot in a yo-yo factory, and then the string broke. I took a fast run to the Lions and one more look at those movies. I had it. The case was beginning to wind. 10 minutes later, I was back on Gower Gulch.
Yes? Who is it?
Regan, you alone?
Don't be insulting.
I'll open the door. What's the matter? You're slow.
What do you want?
Ask me in.
No.
Ask me in.
Regan, look out!
Be careful, Regan. I have a gun.
Well, Julio.
Yes, Julio.
What are you doing here?
Well, I told you.
I know. Back at my place, you're aiming at her, not me. She's been to Peru. She has the films. You knew that.
You whistle like I know.
I go to the movies like everybody else. I keep my eyes on the winner. After Hollywood Park, I should have known better.
Yeah, there are lots of races.
El Romano was a dud. He came in last. 60 lengths with Davy Crockett digging in the spurs. You gave the nag a build-up, phony publicity to sucker an insurance company.
$250,000 I was over.
Can it? You could have never closed a sale without Grundy watching a workout. That would have been a slow boat to China.
You want to be a sailor, too?
Oh, stop being tough, will you? You wore yourself out when you kicked up El Romano in that plane.
It looked good.
Yeah, not to me or Joan.
Look out, Regan. You're asking for a daily double.
Well, I'm going to take it across the board. Give me that gun.
Leave me
Stop
alone.
it.
No, you're breaking my arm.
That's the idea.
I'll kick you in the stomach.
You better go back to his stretcher.
Well,
Yeah.
you can be useful.
Well, when I'm working.
What about after hours? I'm not bad, you know.
No, I never noticed.
Look again.
No, I'm all through with the ponies.
Want a bet?
Davy Crockett told me to play my hunches.
Here I am.
Yeah, but you're a loser.
What do you mean?
You threw those holes into Davy.
It was Julio.
Oh, you're trying real hard, but he was on the plane.
What do I do now?
Well, you might bid a fondue to Gower Gulch.
That's not funny, Regan.
I know it. But you ran out of film. Well, the whole thing blew up like a hoop skirt in a high wind. Julio had a real good thing until he ran into the little man with a good memory and a dame with a fast trigger finger. Her blackmail pitch was already set up, but Davy figured to queer it, so she had to knock him off. Well, the hospital boys came after Julio, and homicide dated Joan, the travel queen. The Lion was pretty excited about the way things worked out. He figured that the insurance company would come across with some green stuff for exposing a fraud. They did. That was the color of the season pass they gave him to the Burton Holmes travel lectures.
Jack Webb is featured as Jeff Regan with Herb Butterfield as Anthony J. Lyon. It's CBS at the same time next week for more hard-boiled action and mystery with Jeff Regan, Investigator. Written by Larry Roman and Jackson Gillis, produced by Sterling Tracy. Included in tonight's cast were Leo Clary, Clayton Post, Yvonne Patey, Ed Begley, and Herb Ellis. 29,000 nurses are needed to join the new Army Nurse Corps Officers Reserve. For the first time in history, qualified nurses have the opportunity of receiving commissions in the regular Army Reserve. These nurses will remain on inactive status, ready to serve their country in time of emergency. 4,000 of them, if they wish, may choose active duty. All nurses who receive commissions will benefit from the opportunity for specialized training offered to them by the Army. Inactive reserve status will not interfere with the nurse's civilian life, but the educational opportunities offered her by the Army Medical Department will be of a great advantage in her work. Don't wait. If you're a registered graduate nurse between the ages of 21 and 45, drop a card for complete information to the Adjutant General, Washington, D.C. Original music for this program is by Milton Charles, Bob Stevenson speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
The story you're about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, brings you Dragnet on both radio and...
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned a robbery detail. An ex-convict is accused of robbery and murder. 4 witnesses identify him as the killer. The man's arraigned in municipal court and held to answer. Your job? Investigate.
Fatima, America's first, largest selling blended cigarette. Now, king size.
See the difference, taste the difference, smoke the difference. And in Fatima, the difference is quality.
See the difference. Fatimas are 21% longer.
Taste the difference. Enjoy Fatima's extra mildness. Much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Smoke the difference. Get all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Definitely the best quality in its class, but the same price as the cigarette you're now smoking.
So why wait? Switch to Fatima today. Each king-size Fatima gives you a long, extra mild and soothing smoke with the added protection of Fatima quality. Buy Fatima.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, March 12th. It was cold in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of robbery detail. My partner's Ed Jacobs. The boss is Captain Didion. My name's Friday. We were on the way over from the office, and it was 10:43 a.m. when we got to the 3rd floor at the Hall of Justice. Municipal Court, Department 82.
You see him, Joe?
I think so, yeah. That's him up front behind the DA's table.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Leo.
Oh, hi, Friday. Jacob. Pull up a chair.
Yeah, thank you. Who's on the stand first, do you know?
Victim's wife.
Oh.
People versus St. Clair.
People ready. In this case, Your Honor, we'd like to proceed with number 23548.
You may proceed. Is the defendant ready?
Defendant's ready, Your Honor. Call Agnes Holloway.
Agnes Holloway to the stand.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give in the matter now pending before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
State your name, please.
Agnes Holloway.
Calling your attention to the 4th day of March of this year, Mrs. Holloway. Did you see the defendant in your place of business at 2301 Mailer Avenue?
Yes, sir.
What time of day did you first see him at that location?
It was around 9:30.
Can you tell us what you saw the defendant do?
For the purpose of the record, may we ask whether that was in the morning or the afternoon?
Was that in the morning or in the p.m.?
P.M.
Can you tell us what you saw the defendant do and what you heard him say at that place?
You mean before the holdup?
At 9:30. Please tell us what occurred.
Well, I came in about 9:30 to the place. He was already sitting there at the bar.
Continue.
I came in and sat down at the end of the bar. He was sitting about 5 stools from the door. A friend of mine, Doris Fenwick. She's here now. Doris was sitting near him. I went over and talked to Doris for a while. The man didn't say anything. He was just sitting there.
Did you see him drinking anything?
Yes, he was drinking scotch and soda.
You're the wife of George Holloway, deceased. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was he present then?
Beg your pardon?
Was your husband, George Holloway, present at that time?
Yes, he was tending the bar.
By that, do you mean that your husband, yourself, and the defendant were the only persons present?
No, my friend Doris Fenwick. There was a sailor there, too. I don't know who he was. He sat next to the defendant, so
What occurred then?
as we were ready to close the front door, my husband noticed the light in the men's washroom.
I move that go out. What her husband noticed as a conclusion to the witness.
It may go out.
Well, anyway, my husband went back in to put the light out, and Doris Fenwick and I went out to the sidewalk, and so did the sailor. And the fellow did, too.
The defendant did?
Yes. In a minute, I went back inside to see what my husband was doing, and the defendant followed me back in. I was about as far as the music machine. He put his arm around me, and he had a gun right here. He said, "Lady, this is a stick-up."
Could you describe the gun you saw?
No, I just saw it look like a pistol to me. I couldn't tell you the make of it.
I move that go out, Your Honor, please, what it looked like.
I know it was a gun.
The motion will be denied.
You were inside the building when the defendant did that.
Yes. He said, "Keep quiet or I'll kill you."
And where was Miss Fenwick then?
She was out on the sidewalk, talking to the sailor, I think. Doris was expecting her husband to come on the streetcar.
I move that go out.
Miss Fenwick was out on the sidewalk, may stay in, and the balance may go out.
What did the defendant do after that, Mrs. Holloway?
He said, "I will shoot you if you don't keep quiet." He made me walk backwards to where my husband was, and I said, "Johnny, this man has a gun. He says this is a stick-up." And the man said, "Shut up." And he made my husband put his hands up.
Were you in fear of the gun at that time?
No, I didn't have any fear.
Did you believe the defendant would injure you with the gun?
I wasn't afraid. I thought, well, it's a hold-up, and we'll give him the money, and that's all there is to it.
All right. Continue.
Well, when we got to the back room, my husband was trying to open the safe, and he said, "Hurry up. I have your wife covered. I'll kill her if you don't hurry."
The defendant said that.
Yes, and my husband said, "Don't get nervous. You can have anything we have, but don't shoot her." Then my husband got the safe open and took out the money bag and handed it to the man, the defendant. He grabbed it, and then he shot my husband twice.
The defendant shot your husband twice.
Yes,
Do you know what the contents of the money bag were?
about $160.
At any time did you give this defendant authority or your consent to take that money?
No, sir.
The taking of the money was against your will, is that correct?
Yes.
How soon after was it that the officers arrived at the location?
It was about 7 or 8 minutes after that.
Your husband was removed to the hospital?
Yes.
Do you know when your husband died?
He died on the 7th, Friday, 6 o'clock.
You mean on the 7th of March of this year?
Yes, 6 a.m.
Did you see your husband in the coroner's office?
Pardon?
Did you see your husband after death in the coroner's office?
No, I saw him in the hospital.
After death, did you see your husband downstairs in the coroner's office?
No, my son did.
Did you see your husband after death?
Yes, at the mortuary, Monday the 10th, at the mortuary.
And the person you viewed in death was the same Charles A. Holloway who you knew in life as your husband?
Yes, sir.
Do you know Grace Thompson?
Yes, sir. She works for me and my husband.
Was she present at your place of business on this evening?
Yes,
When did she leave there, do you know?
about 5 minutes to 12, midnight.
Can you fix the precise time when your husband was shot?
About 5 minutes after 12.
5 minutes after 12. How many times was the gun fired?
Twice.
How close was the gun to your husband, Charles Holloway?
Must have been about 2 feet.
Do you know Marion Shaw?
Yes,
Was she present on the premises that evening?
she was present that evening.
Do you know Mrs. Sam Garber?
Yes.
Was she present on the premises that evening?
Yes, sir. And that sailor was there, too. I didn't know him, though.
All that you've related occurred in the county of Los Angeles, state of California?
Yes, sir.
Cross-examine.
May I have a drink of water, please?
Bailey? Would you like to rest a while, Mrs. Holloway?
Yes, please.
We'll have a short recess before the cross-examination.
Joe? Ed?
Yeah, Leo.
Probably won't get to us for a while. You want to go out for a smoke?
Yeah, it's fine with me.
Okay.
What's your idea on it, Leo?
I don't know. Not to have him bound over to Superior Court.
No, I mean, you think St. Clair's the right man?
Got me. Yeah, just one good piece of physical evidence, I'd feel a lot better about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks.
There you go. Light.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
How about St. Clair's alibi? All the angles checked, huh?
All of them. Doesn't hold much water. Can't prove it's a lie, can't prove it's the truth.
Sure hate these things. Don't know which way to go. 4 identifying witnesses, and we know how wrong they can be.
What about that sailor who was supposed to be in the bar at the time? I know homicide didn't do any good. How about you, fella?
No, same, Leo. Nothing yet.
He was the only one who really got a close look at the killer besides the wife, I mean. Killer bumped into him when he ran out of the bar.
Yeah.
If anyone could identify the right man, the sailor could.
Well, nobody at the bar saw him before that night. Nobody's seen him since. There's not a trace of him.
Sure, our best bet. If we could find him, we might put a foundation under this thing.
Yeah, I'll put in with you. There's just one problem.
Yeah.
It's a big Navy. Where do we find him? When 58-year-old tavern owner Charles Holloway was shot and fatally wounded in a holdup on March 4th, there were 5 people in the immediate vicinity. Holloway's wife, a waitress at the tavern, 2 women customers, and an unidentified sailor. Soon after the shooting, the scene of the crime was gone over thoroughly for all physical evidence, but besides the 2 fatal bullets, none was found. The preliminary investigation failed to yield any further leads. A search was started for the missing witness, the unidentified sailor. The 4 known witnesses were brought downtown, where they checked through volumes of pictures of ex-convicts recently released from the state penitentiaries. All of them identified the mugshot of Harold St. Clair, a recent parolee from Chino, where he'd served time for armed robbery. St. Clair was brought in immediately and questioned. He failed to establish an alibi for his whereabouts the night of the holdup and murder. He was arraigned in municipal court, and at his preliminary hearing, the first prosecution witness, the wife of the murdered man, Agnes Holloway, singled him out as the killer. By experience, the working detectives found that identifying witnesses under the strain of being present at a horrible crime can often be mistaken in their identification. In this instance, there wasn't anything else we could do. It was all we had. 11:18 a.m., the preliminary hearing resumed. The witnesses took the stand in turn, and all of them tabbed St. Clair as the murderer. Ed and I testified as the arresting officers. At 3:25 that afternoon, the prosecution rested the case for the people. St. Clair's lawyer offered no defense for the time being.
Your Honor?
Mr. Alexander?
This time the people move that case number 23529 be dismissed on the grounds that it states in substance...
23529? Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. Dismissed on the grounds that it states in substance the offense covered in the present case. 23529 covers the offense of robbery and assault with intent to commit murder under the present victim in our case here, Charles Holloway. He was not dead at the time this case 23529 was filed. Subsequent to its filing, he died, and the murder count accomplished that complaint.
Let the record show that on the motion of the district attorney in the case of People versus Harold R. St. Clair, number 23529, that case is dismissed. Declaring to me that the offenses in the within deposition mentioned, to wit, count 1, murder, a felony, and count 2, robbery, a felony, have been committed, and that there is sufficient cause to believe the within named defendant, Harold R. St. Clair, guilty thereof. I order that he be held to answer to the same, and that he be committed to the custody of the sheriff of Los Angeles County without bail.
In the 17 days intervening between St. Clair's preliminary hearing and his arraignment in Superior Court, Ed and I, along with Sergeant Stoner, Beeson, and Leo Tracy, continued our investigation of the case. Physical evidence to either prove or disprove the case against St. Clair was not to be had. We concentrated on trying to find the all-important missing witness to the killing, the unidentified sailor. We got out an APB along with special letters and bulletins for distribution to local Navy Yard commandants as well as Navy Department officials in Washington requesting help in locating him. It went slow. The day before St. Clair's Superior Court arraignment, we got our first lead, but not from where we expected. A 2-time robbery loser, Lester Jaffe, who bore a close resemblance to St. Clair, was arrested at a check-cashing agency on South Hoover trying to pass a forged check. He had several prior arrests and convictions for burglary and ADW, and a check of his package showed that he had violated his parole. A .38 caliber S&W revolver found on Jaffe was delivered to Russ Camp in ballistics for examination and comparison. The next day, Monday, March 29th, St. Clair came up for his arraignment in Superior Court. Ed and I were there.
St. Clair.
Defendant is present and ready, Your Honor.
Arraign the prisoner.
Harold R. St. Clair, is that your true name?
That's right.
Harold R. St. Clair, by information number 23549, you're charged in count 1 with the crime of murder, in that on or about March 4th of this year you did willfully, unlawfully, and feloniously, and with malice aforethought, murder one Charles A. Holloway, a human being. To this charge, how do you now plead, guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
In count 2 of the same information, you're charged with the crime of robbery, in that on or about March 4th of this year you did rob one Charles A. Holloway. To that charge, how do you now plead, guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Joe the bailiff. Oh, yeah. He's motioning to you. Phone call, I guess. Must be for you.
Yeah, thanks, Ed.
Gentlemen, have you agreed on what date is convenient for trial?
No agreement as yet, Your Honor.
Harris, a phone call for you, Sergeant. Right here. Okay, thank you. Friday talking. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is that right? Yeah, okay, Russ. As soon as we finish here. Yeah, right. Bye.
Joe, Alex here wants to know about a trial date. Any ideas?
Well, we better get all the time you can, Alex. We're going to need it.
Anything you say. What's the matter? We got trouble?
We just had a call from Russ Camp and ballistics.
Yeah.
I figure we got a whole new case to build.
What do you mean?
Well, the man we've got, St. Clair.
Yeah?
Maybe he's taking the rap for somebody else.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action. Fatima, America's first largest-selling blended cigarette, now king size.
See the difference. Fatima, 21% longer. Taste the difference. Smoke the difference. And in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Yes, you get all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Friends, to show our confidence in Fatima, to convince you quickly, dramatically, that Fatima is the best of all king-size cigarettes, we make this money-back guarantee.
Buy a pack of Fatimas. Enjoy Fatima quality, extra mildness, and superbly blended tobaccos.
If you're not convinced Fatima is better than the king-size cigarette you're now smoking, just return the pack and the unsmoked Fatimas before April 1st, and we'll give you your money back plus postage. Fatima, Box 37, New York 1.
Remember, each king-size Fatima gives you a long, extra mild, and soothing smoke with the added protection of Fatima quality.
Buy Fatima in the bright, sunny yellow pack. Best of all king-size cigarettes.
March 29th, Monday, 4:15 p.m. After the arraignment of Harold St. Clair in Superior Court, Ed and I checked with Russ Camp in ballistics. He said he'd run tests on the .38 S&W revolver taken from robbery forgery suspect Lester Jaffe the day before. Comparison microscopic examinations of test bullets fired from the gun taken from Jaffe and the 2 slugs which had been removed from the body of tavern owner Charles Holloway matched. After checking with Brereton at the CII Bureau in Sacramento, we discovered new additions to Jaffe's long criminal record. We also found out his known M.O. corresponded closely to that of the man who robbed and murdered Mr. Holloway. At a special show-up of both St. Clair and Jaffe, the close resemblance of the two became apparent to the 4 identifying witnesses. They frankly admitted their mistake and positively identified Jaffe as the killer. Intensive investigation during the next 3 weeks uncovered enough evidence and testimony against Jaffe by associates and informers to give us a good foundation for a murder conviction. But we were still without a lead to one of our most essential witnesses, the unidentified sailor. The first suspect, Harold St. Clair, was cleared of the charge, but detained on a warrant from the Denver Police Department. After arraignment and preliminary hearing in municipal court, the arraignment in Superior Court, Lester Jaffe went on trial for the Holloway killing on June 2nd. Dr. West, the autopsy surgeon, was first to be called by Assistant District Attorney Adolph Alexander. He stated the results of the autopsy on Mr. Holloway and testified as to the cause of death. John Maurer, the police surveyor, was next. He produced the various diagrammatic drawings of the murder scene. The 3rd day of the trial, June 5th.
Garber woman's calling back on. Friend of Miss Holloway?
Oh, yeah.
Mrs. Samuel Garber. Be seated.
Proceed with the cross-examination.
Mrs. Garber, at the time you testified against the former suspect, Harold St. Clair, you were just as positive then, were you not, that the hold-up man who killed Mr. Holloway was Harold St. Clair?
Yes, I was, but I also said he didn't have the same type eyes.
You were absolutely sure about Harold St. Clair then, weren't you?
Yes, I guess I was.
And you identified St. Clair and testified a number of times during that examination that St. Clair was the man. Is that right?
I said he resembled the man.
You said he was the man, didn't you?
I said I thought he resembled the man.
You also said there was no doubt of it, didn't you? That the hold-up man was Mr. St. Clair.
Well, I guess so. I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I guess I don't. I don't remember. I'm not sure.
Mrs. Garber, are you sure you remember the man you saw sitting in the bar that night?
Well, I don't know. I've got them both mixed up. I guess I'm not sure.
During the next 2 days, the other 3 identifying witnesses were called to testify and, like Mrs. Garber, were badgered by the defense attorney unmercifully. Despite the efforts of Alexander, the prosecuting attorney, it was apparent the jury was being swayed heavily in favor of the defendant. Even the full day and a half Ray Pinker from the crime lab spent on the stand seemed to have little effect in counteracting the damage done by the confused testimony. To prepare the jury for Russ Camp's expert report and for the presentation of scientific facts about the lethal bullets in the murder gun found on Jaffe at the time of his arrest, Pinker and Assistant District Attorney Alexander gave the jury a thorough briefing on the fundamentals of ballistics. They also pointed out the scientific value of ballistics in determining the guilt or innocence of a defendant. On Thursday, June 12th, Russ Camp took the stand as a prosecution witness and, under questioning, presented the findings of the various tests he'd run on the alleged murder weapon.
Mr. Camp, sometime after you had obtained People's Exhibit 13, did you fire a test bullet or several test bullets from it in the crime laboratory?
I did.
Did you make a comparison of any of those test bullets with Exhibits 3 and 3A, the bullets which killed Charles Holloway?
Yes, I did.
Now, in making your comparison and examination under the microscope after you had completed the mechanical part of your work, and after you had completed your examination of the observable and comparable sections of the fatal bullets with the test bullet fired from People's Exhibit 13, did you come to any conclusion with respect to the Holloway fatal bullets?
Yes, I did.
And what was that conclusion?
The conclusion was that the fatal bullets, the Holloway fatal bullets, People's Exhibit number 3 and 3A, were fired through the barrel of People's Exhibit number 13.
After another hour of testifying, Russ Camp left the stand. His ballistics report on the murder gun had made an impression on the jury, but we couldn't be sure it was enough to balance the setback the prosecution received from its own witnesses. As far as we were concerned, Jaffe was the guilty man. There wasn't a doubt about it. But the case against him was apparently inconclusive as far as the jury was concerned. The defense attorney obviously had heard about the unidentified sailor who was also present at the scene of the killing. He charged outright in the court that the district attorney was purposely preventing the appearance of the unknown sailor as a witness and was concealing his identity. As he told the jury, the prosecution was afraid that the testimony of their alleged silent witness would damage its case. Meantime, our intensive search for the missing seaman was still underway. Despite half a dozen favorable prosecution witnesses, the case for the people appeared to be on the losing end going into the closing days of the trial. Tuesday, June 17th, one of the final defense witnesses was a Mrs. Albert Dolan, who presented a fair alibi for Jaffe. She claimed Jaffe was at night school at the time of the Holloway killing.
Would you say of your own knowledge that on the night of March the 4th, Mr. Jaffe was at the school until midnight?
Yes, he was.
When you left the school, did you go home alone or with somebody?
My husband and I drove home with Mr. Jaffe.
Anything else that you can remember?
Let me think.
Sure reads a convincing story, huh?
Yeah, I wonder what the connection is.
I don't know. Sure got plenty of them. What do you figure, Joe? The jury, you think we got a chance?
I don't know. Don't bet on it.
Ed, Joe.
Oh, hi, Lil.
Hi. Going bad?
Couldn't be a lot better.
It's getting that way. Just got a call from Wilmington over at the squadron.
Oh, what about?
Sailor we've been looking for. We found him.
Before we left the courtroom, Ed and I briefed the Assistant District Attorney Alexander on the latest development. He put in a special order to the county jail for Harold St. Clair. Ed and I went across the street and met with a long missing murder witness in the homicide squad room. The sailor identified himself as Seaman First Class Roy Maslin. He told us that about 3.5 weeks before, he'd happened to see a copy of the bulletin we'd gotten out on him. He checked with his commanding officer and was returned to the mainland from his post on Midway Island. 3:22 p.m., we returned to the courtroom along with Seaman First Class Roy Maslin and conferred with Assistant District Attorney Alexander. The first murder suspect, Harold St. Clair, had already been brought downstairs to the courtroom from the county jail. He was placed at the opposite end of the counsel table from the defendant, Lester Jaffe.
May we approach the bench, Your Honor?
Come forward.
Your Honor, we've just now located a witness in this case. He's in the armed services and must report back for duty tonight. May we have permission to call this witness out of turn?
Permission granted.
Oh. All right, son.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give in the matter now pending before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name, please.
Seaman First Class Roy Maslin, United States Navy.
Be seated.
Are you acquainted with the Tavern Cafe at 2301 Naylor Avenue?
Yes, I am.
Were you there on the evening of March 4th of this year?
Yes, I was there a few minutes before midnight.
Will you tell the court in your own words what happened on the premises that night?
Well, it was just a couple of minutes before midnight. People who ran the place said they were closing up, so I had a nightcap. Shot dice for the drinks with this guy next to me. I won.
Who was this man?
I didn't know who he was.
After you had your drinks, did you leave the bar?
Yes, I did. The other guy stayed there. I went out to the sidewalk and stood there talking with one of the gals I saw in the bar, and then heard a couple of shots fired. Somebody inside the joint screamed or hollered or something. I was just going to the door to get inside, and this man came rushing out. He hit me square on and went down. I remember seeing him run down the street, the same guy I was drinking with.
Would you recognize this man if you saw him again?
Yes, sir, I would.
Is that man in this courtroom now?
Yes, sir.
Will Your Honor please direct the defendant to stand alongside of Mr. St. Clair so that this witness may properly identify the man involved?
Mr. Jaffe, will you stand up, please? Stand to the right of Mr. Sinclair.
Will you step down from the stand, please, Mr. Maslin, and place your hand on the shoulder of the man who was in the bar with you the night of March 4th?
Yes. This is the man, Jaffe. Watch your back.
Fast work, sailor.
Really burned up. Guess he'd like to kill me, huh?
You're not the only one, son.
What?
Wait till they read him the verdict.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On June 21st, the jury retired to deliberate the case. In a moment, the results of that deliberation.
And now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, I'd like you to buy a pack of Fatimas on my say-so. I'm convinced that once you see the difference, taste the difference, smoke the difference, you'll switch to Fatima for good. Because in Fatima, the difference is quality. Each king-size Fatima gives you a long, extra mild and soothing smoke with the added protection of Fatima quality. Buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Lester Carl Jaffe was found guilty of murder in the first degree. He was executed in the lethal gas chamber at the State Penitentiary, San Quentin, California.
Exchange Clubs sponsor Crime Prevention Week to remind you that the fight against crime is your fight, the year round.
You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Heard tonight were Barney Phillips, Vic Perrin, and Virginia Gregg. Script by Jim Moser. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Next, it's David Harding and Counter Spy on NBC. the sign out in front of my office says, Pat Novak For Hire. Oh, sure, you can spell it 50 different ways, but down on the waterfront in San Francisco, it all means the same thing. You pay and I'll do, and the customer's always right if he's got an open wallet. And I'll match it with an open mind. Unless he's after murder, then the price gets out of range. And down here, you're either high on your toes or flat on your back, because most of the time you get only one kind of pitch, fast and inside, and you don't try if you're foul because nobody cares. Even then, you can't complain. During the summer, the morgue's the coolest spot in town. Oh, I rent boats and wrap up small sins in $20 bills. The money's good when you get it, but there's no retirement plan, and you can't buy vaccination for trouble. I found that out last Wednesday night. I closed up shop about 8 o'clock, and I started walking home. The city was down on its hands and knees trying to crawl through one of those San Francisco hot spells that blast by every 5 years. From up on the hill, the Chinatown tenements lined up down below like sweaty little kids waiting for a shower. It was heat and headaches all the way. But when I opened my front door and stepped inside, who wanted to talk about the weather? She was standing in the dark smoking a cigarette, and the silhouette her figure cut against the window was something you'd never believe. Then she reached over and turned on a lamp. It was a fast, dizzy trip, but when I got around to her eyes, they were the kind that made you think of hard-working geysers. Deep and warm, and you knew you could count on some fast action when they came to a boil. The smile was familiar, and the lips were red and moist, like a souped-up rose waiting for a bee. She did lots of nice things with her mouth, and talking was one of them.
Patsy, welcome home. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Georgie. What's on your mind?
Patsy, can't you ever take your time?
It's not mine, it's borrowed. Anything special in mind?
Easy business. Got a drink?
How easy?
Just a boat ride. You can't get hurt.
That's what they told the Spanish Armada.
Getting soft, Patsy?
No, not in the head. Now, look, if it's work, let's talk. Otherwise, let's just be cute, huh?
All right, Patsy. The last time you saw me was a year ago. As far as you know, I'm not in town. Fine?
You tell me. Go on.
Tomorrow night, a freighter's due in here from Shanghai. The SS Calcutta. I want to be on the welcoming committee.
Who says you can't?
Nobody yet. But the ship's going to anchor in the stream, so I need a boat, and I need you.
I'm not the social type. I don't think I'll go.
Believe me, Patsy, it's an easy trip.
So's falling downstairs. Come on, let's deal or drink.
All right, Patsy. My stepmother's going to meet the Calcutta, too.
Who's she?
Mrs. Sheila Lampson.
She likes parties?
She likes a package she's going to get from somebody aboard the Calcutta.
What's in it?
That's her business. I just want to make sure she gets that package ashore all right.
You in on it?
She doesn't even know I'm in town.
Who picks up the check?
Here. The $40 cover it.
It's too much for an easy job and not enough for a hard one. Where do I find you if I need bail?
Here's the phone number. You can call me there tomorrow. And Patsy, thanks. I don't forget easy.
Why the rush?
Because you scare me, Patsy. You really scare me. You remember the party, Patsy?
Yeah. But memories are like everything else. They wear out.
Then let's make some new ones, Patsy.
At the door and watched her move down the hall toward the stairs. The white dress she had on was plain enough, but it didn't have a mind of its own. It just did what it was told and tried to behave, but Georgie and nature wouldn't let it. There was only one catch in seeing Georgie. She always left too soon, like a small bottle of fine whiskey. Well, it must have been a good 5 minutes after she left when I heard the buzzer. I was looking for the white dress when I opened the door, but I was looking the wrong way. Something with an echo, and it came down hard on the side of my head. I went down like mercury in a quick freeze. The trip wasn't nice, but it was long. Halfway there, I came up for breath, and I found the deck of one of my own boats under me. The Bay Bridge lights were still around, and that made it kind of cozy. When my eyes got in focus, the smooth-looking bundle laid out next to me shaped up like Georgie Lampson. She wasn't looking her best. I had just enough time to remember a pair of women's shoes standing next to my face, and then I must have moved, and they punched my ticket for a return trip. The next time I opened my eyes, I was looking up at the lights on Pier 19. Oh, the shoes were still there, but this time they were black, and the feet inside squashed out wide and flat like tired beefsteak. That meant only one thing: Hellman from Homicide.
You can stop playing mouse, Novak. Get up. The party's over.
Yeah, Hellman. I thought they'd never go home.
Your boyfriend here isn't talking.
Is he bashful?
Yeah, Novak. He's real shy. He's dead. Who is he?
That's what you get paid for. What about the girl that was here?
County Hospital. You better pray she makes it, Novak.
Because you like blondes, Hellman?
Because nobody beats 2 murder raps, Novak.
Oh, you talk funny.
So does this hunk of lead pipe. Your prints are all over it.
What'd that make me, a plumber?
Better than that, Novak. The pipe fits a dent in that guy's skull like it grew there.
Well, maybe he's the plumber.
You're smart, Novak. Now, come on. Who's the guy and who is the dame?
He's Georgie Lampson, the guy I don't know.
Will, Novak. We'll take care of that.
Oh, you try hard, don't you, Hellman? You move your lips when you read, you use your fingers when you count, but you never get the right answer.
Don't tempt me, Novak. I'm not my cherry best in the morning.
You don't have a best, Hellman. You tried thinking once, but it gave you a headache. Now when you get in a squeeze, you have to pound your way out with your fist.
I warned you, Novak. Now talk nice and save teeth.
Yeah. I'll talk when that blonde tells her story.
If she makes the grade, how does she figure?
She met me in my apartment last night on business. 5 minutes after she left, the doorbell rang. When I answered it, somebody sapped me. Now you take it from there.
Yeah, I will. Right to the DA.
Go ahead, Hellman, but don't look hurt when the case blows up in your face.
You giving odds?
That's all I'm giving, Hellman. You figure it. I took the gal and this girl I don't even know for a ride at 3 a.m. We had a party and I killed a guy. But the gal I only messed up good because I like the way she talked.
You sound scared, Novak.
Well, I'm not, Hellman, but you are because it doesn't add. Why did I beat my skull with that same hunk of pipe, and how did I drive back here to meet you?
Keep your mouth open, smart boy. They got a little green room up at San Quentin. Gets awful stuffy when they close the door.
Well, after I left Hellman, I figured I'd had a bumper crop of trouble for one day. The sun was just beginning to stagger up over the Berkeley Hills when I caught a cab uptown. On the way, I stopped off for coffee and a 6 a.m. Chronicle at one of those little Greek joints off Geary Street. The windows were blind with grease and the light was bad, but the reading was money from home. The story made me stop counting the lumps on my head. Professor Burton Lampson had gotten himself murdered in a Shanghai hotel room a month ago, and they were sending his body back on the SS Calcutta. It was due to anchor in the bay that night, like Georgie said, but the shipping page didn't agree. The Calcutta was listed inside the gate at 7:30 the night before. How did that check out? And what about that package that had everybody worried? Well, when I got back to my apartment, I called the hospital to check on Georgie. Well, they were still giving odds, the long, thin kind. A little later, I was in the middle of a cold shower, adding up rows of zeros and getting different answers every round when the phone rang. It was Hellman, and he was selling nothing but smiles.
You feeling any better, Novak?
Oh, don't tell me you're worried.
We just identified the dead guy. His name's Warren Haynes, local socialite. You know him?
Yeah, I'm an old friend of the family.
The guy's from one of the old families in town, the important kind.
His blood wasn't blue.
No, but we are. We're feeling the pressure already, so I'm calling you in today for a little talk.
That's a great job, Hellman. You keep right on smacking your fat lips because you're going to get more answers than questions.
That's funny, Novak. I didn't think you knew the difference.
When I hung up the phone, I was seeing more red than the bleachers of the bullfighting. I probably would have walked right by him if he didn't open his mouth. Even then, it wasn't much more than a loud squeak. He was a skinny guy standing against the door with a half smile twisting his mouth and a bright, wild look in his eyes.
You seem disturbed, Mr. Novak.
Where's your invitation, mister?
This should prove sufficient, Mr. Novak.
All right, so you want a gun. What happens now?
Now, Mr. Novak, I use the gun unless you hand over the package.
Sorry, mister, you're in the wrong laundry.
Mr. Novak, I've been crossed once today. I don't intend it shall happen twice. The package?
Now, look, I'm going to spell it again. I don't know what you're talking about. Now, take that cannon you're pointing and...
I think you realize I'm about to use this gun, Mr. Novak, for the last time.
All right. You'll find it right over there. Now here, right next to... Now, come on, give me that gun before somebody gets hurt. He stood there for a minute, shaking his head as if he wanted to go back and wipe 5 minutes from his life. All of a sudden, he jerked around in his tracks and he stumbled for the door like a timid drunk when you tell him he's had enough. Then he folded up hard against the wall on his knees. But it was a little too late for prayers. I stood there for a minute trying to think of a good lawyer who owed me money, but all I could see was a courtroom and a picture of Hellman smiling as he listened to the verdict. Well, accident or not, if Hellman dropped in with a body on the floor, he'd bury me so deep in San Quentin he'd be bringing me air in paper bags. When the knot in my stomach untied, I dragged the little guy away from the door and I rolled him on his back. His eyes were still asking for the package, but the rest of them didn't care. Outside of a few bucks, his wallet was empty, not even a laundry tag. Well, I got dressed and I pulled the blinds and locked the place up. And then I went out to look for the only honest guy I know, an ex-doctor by the name of Jocko Madigan. He was a fine surgeon until something made him decide life was temporary at best. Now he's got a permanent post on a bar stool looking for answers at the bottom of whiskey bottles. Well, it's hard on the liver that way, but you're never short on dreams. I finally found him with a bourbon halo in a musty little Italian joint over in North Beach. It was a long stretch from Easter Monday, but he was still celebrating Irish independence. He looked like he was on the wrong side because his nose was a bright orange.
Patsy, my boy, you're just in time. These simple but honest Sicilians have agreed to embark with me on a crusade. And as honorary past president of the Sons of St. Patrick, the Powell Street chapter, I invite you to join us.
Hold on, Jocko. Sober up. I got to talk to you.
To fittingly observe the occasion of old Ayre's joyful victory, we're first fortifying ourselves with grappa and bushmills. Then we sally forth to chase all the snakes out of Long Beach and the cockroaches out of Chinatown. How does that strike you, Patsy? And why aren't you smiling? 'Tis a glorious day.
Because I'm in a jam and I want to talk, Jocko. Now cut it.
Oh, Patsy, you remind me of that De Valera fellow. You're sitting on the curb and pouting just because they won't let you march in front of the band in the victory parade. You're sour, Patsy. Admit it.
Jocko, will you snap out of it? I'm in big trouble.
You're always in trouble, Patsy. You're a child of adversity, a son of scorn. The fates spit in your eye and you try to retaliate, but the wind's always blowing in the wrong direction. You're a lost leaf in the mortal storm, Patsy. You're a pebble shaking a tiny fist at the mountain. You'd like to fight for some strange, fantastic cause, wouldn't you, Patsy? But you can't find anybody your size. Men are too small and the gods are too big. Patsy, you're lost.
Are you all through?
Yeah. What kind of trouble?
Oh, it's a pair of bum murder rats, Jocko. Somebody sapped me in my apartment last night and I woke up this morning with a dead guy.
That sounds interesting. What was it you were drinking?
Hellman's out to pin this on me.
Oh, a dubious honor. You mentioned 2 murders.
A guy came in my apartment this morning waving a gun and asking for a package that I never heard of. We started wrestling for the gun.
Mildly exciting. Now, who got it?
He did, right in the chest.
Patsy, you have absolutely no excuse for losing your temper. Why, you're not even Irish. Still, you're always getting hot-headed at the wrong time.
It was an accident, Jocko. I didn't even know the guy. I'm sorry, but I can't cry.
Sure, that's what the British general said after he hung Robert Emmet at the dock. But he didn't straighten out the Marcel in his neck. What are you doing out of jail?
Well, you knock it off, Jocko. Now, look, did you ever hear of a Mrs. Sheila Lampson?
Certainly, and I'm very offended with her. In the past year, she set up drinks for every eligible and non-eligible in San Francisco except me.
That sounds good. What else?
Not much, but I often wonder what that poor old professor she married does with his evenings.
He stopped worrying, Jocko. He's dead. Now, look, will you hop down to the Chronicle morgue and check with Steve Nagel? Have him dig out all the old clips on the professor and Mrs. Lampson, will you? And while you're there, check on a guy by the name of Warren Haynes. You got that?
Yes, but what do I do for money?
$50 for car fare and nothing for booze.
Patsy, surely you're jesting.
Jocko, will you quit clowning and get going?
If you say so, Patsy, but you've broken up a beautiful party. My Sicilian friends have gone to sleep and I'm thirsty again. Let's have 4 or 5 for the road, shall we?
Later, Jocko.
Oh, all right, Patsy, but only for you. By the way, where can I find you?
I'm going to tag by the county hospital, and then I'm going to look up Sheila Lampson.
If I remember the story correctly, Patsy, you'd better reverse your schedule. Good night, lover.
When I left Jocko, I tagged by Mama Lupo's on Kearney Street, and I called the hospital again. Oh, Georgie was a little better. At least the undertakers had stopped bidding. Mama Lupo clouded up for a storm when I asked to borrow her new car for a couple of hours, but a few pats and a pinch, and she was all giggles and car keys. 10 minutes later, I was fighting traffic on Potrero Avenue. The south wind out there brought the slaughterhouses right into your front seat. I found the hospital out on the far edge, and it was a nice-looking pile of dirty red brick. The nurse in the ward didn't believe I was Georgie's brother until I asked her if she was busy Saturday night. Then she saw the resemblance right away. I found Georgie behind a couple of screens at the end of the ward. For a dying woman, she looked pretty good. She smiled a little when she saw me, like she was saving up for a bigger try later on.
Patsy, I'm glad you made it.
Look, I'm going to keep it short, baby. Who was it last night?
Sorry, Patsy. Big deal.
You can't tell her, you won't.
Can't, Patsy. Later I will.
And that package, same deal?
Same.
Well, I got a deal too, Georgie, a murder rap. They want to hang it on me.
Who was it?
Warren Haynes. Do you know him?
I remember. Good corpse.
Now, look, you're slicing it awful thin for $40, Georgie.
Patsy, Patsy, trust me.
No choice, baby. You're driving. Don't go through any red lights.
Oh, Patsy.
Telephone, Mr. Novak. They said it was urgent.
That's it, Georgie. I'll see you later. Yeah.
Having a good time, Novak?
You know any phone numbers besides mine, Hellman?
Not today, bright boy. You near a streetcar, or do I send a chauffeur?
What's your beef?
Our beef, Novak. We'd like it fine if you paid us a visit real soon.
Sorry, Hellman. Book's solid.
Command performance, Novak. I wouldn't disappoint.
What's the matter, Hellman? You want it in blood? I told you I don't know anything about last night. I never saw Haynes before.
You got me wrong, Novak. This one's about a knife. We just found it in your office down the waterfront.
That's fine. Peel yourself an apple and keep busy.
You better come down, Novak. We found the knife in some guy's back.
Houdini couldn't get out of that one in 2 hours with both hands and a can of olive oil. It was like chasing cyanide with a bucket of brandy. Well, it tastes bright, but it's only a matter of time. Well, I headed for Sheila Lampson's place, and on the way I pulled up by a drugstore out in the Haight Street jungles and called the Chronicle morgue. They said Jocko had just left, so I called the nearest bar and asked if they had a customer with a bright orange nose. They did.
Jocko Madigan speaking.
Jocko, this is Novak. What'd you find out?
Ah, Patsy. Just enjoying a small refresher after some very excellent reading.
For instance?
Sheila Howard Lampson. She started seeing the professor back in 46. There was a scandal, the nasty kind. And the professor's first wife, Barbara, jumped off the bridge, the Bay Bridge.
Yeah, go on.
A month after she married the professor, Sheila was mentioned in every gossip column in town. So the professor took off on a scientific trip to China. A month ago, he was murdered in a Shanghai hotel, and a hatful of emeralds was stolen. The authorities figured that the murder was premature.
What do you mean?
Well, the professor had had 3 major operations, and at the time of the murder, he had less than a week to go.
What about Haynes?
Haynes is one of those black sheep that wealthy families have, cut off without a penny. He's one of Sheila Lampson's escorts, and he's now on his way back from the Orient on the SS Calcutta. Anything else?
Jocko, I could kiss you.
Patsy, you stick to your line, and I'll stick to mine.
Well, the puzzle was still a sack full of holes and question marks, but at least Jocko's leads had a little juice in them. I found the Lampson house in the best part of the Seacliff district. It was one of those big nervous joints hanging by its shutters to the side of a steep drop that slid down sharp into the Pacific. All green trim and stucco the color of mortgages. The front doorbell was wearing out in my hand when the maid showed up, and then she was tongue-tied. She didn't know a thing except good money when it was offered. And then she told me I'd find Mrs. Lampson in the second-floor sitting room. She went away. I found the sitting room all right, but Mrs. Lampson wasn't there. So I followed on through till I came to a bedroom with a bright red ceiling and a lived-in feeling. Reminded you of something Henry VIII might order for a bridal suite. She was sitting next to the couch holding a martini and making noises like a leopard on a honeymoon.
Hello. Well, call me baby.
Yeah. You always wear handkerchiefs to parties?
Mm-hmm. Saves time. Dressing. You're nice. Have a drink?
I'll fix them.
Oh, you are nice. What's your name?
Novak. What's yours?
Billy.
Is that a name or a game?
You're just like Mike. He's my new boyfriend.
Mrs. Night Off?
Oh, no. He just went downstairs for a minute. Hey, you fix a nice drink, Mr. Novak. Warm.
Yeah. You got a fever or something?
No. Must be the weather, Mr. Novak. You feel it?
You're a big spender, aren't you? What do I do when Mike walks in? Smile?
Oh, Mike's broad-minded.
How about Sheila?
You fix a good drink, Mr. Novak. You ask a lot of questions, too.
Yeah, well, that's because I like answers. Now, what about Sheila?
Hey, you're going to get rough. I'll call Mike.
All right.
I'm Sheila's sister, and it's much better when you're nice to me.
All right, then let's start being nice, huh?
Mr. Novak, what was that for?
I'm a big spender, too. Here, have another drink.
I think maybe I'll have another you, Mr. Novak. Is that Mike coming upstairs?
Could be, baby. Now, come on, where's Sheila?
Oh, Sheila, who cares? She's downtown anyway. She won't know. Hey, where are you going?
Sorry, baby, I got a date.
I'm not busy. Will I do?
Don't let him leave, Mike.
If he does, he's going to walk through me.
I'm sorry, baby. He's not my type. Mike was a tall, wide package, so I gave him a bargain offer. He didn't fold after two, but he had a kind of hurt look in his eye when I hit him the third time, like I didn't know he could take a hint. When he wound up and hit the floor, every window in the house rattled, and I figured the Berkeley seismograph got a cheap thrill. I made it as far as the front door when I heard a car pull up in the driveway. When I got to the window, a dame and a guy were getting out of a new Nash and heading for the door. The guy was a middle-class gunsel, but if the gal was Sheila Lampson, she made nice opposition. Well, I couldn't wait around to see. I finally managed to make my apartment without having one of Hellman's men pick me up, and when I got in, Jocko was just pouring himself another glass of Green Dreams and posing in the mirror like a man of distinction. The stiff was still there on the floor next to a glass of ice water.
Patsy, I don't approve of your choice of party guests.
The guy's dead, Jocko.
Oh. Well, in that case, I'll overlook it. This is the friend you were telling me about? When are you due at the gas chamber, Patsy?
Any phone calls?
Oh, now that you mention it, yes.
Hellman?
Regularly on the quarter hour. Not very coherent, but I got the idea he's looking for you. Also a call from the hospital. They wanted to know the whereabouts of a Miss Georgie Lampson.
What do you mean?
It seems she disappeared a few hours ago from one of their wards.
Oh.
Patsy, you look worried. Perhaps a sampling of this delicate dollar ambrosia would help. Try it.
No, thanks.
Suit yourself, Patsy. Myself, I'm an old subscriber to the Socrates plan of self-destruction. If you want it done right, do it yourself. By the way, have you noticed our friend's hands lately?
Huh?
It looks like he's entertaining a scrap of paper in his right hand.
Yeah, I see it. Well, let me see here.
He seems kind of stingy with it, doesn't he?
Yeah, I got it.
Uh-huh. Oh, an old envelope. Not even a coded letter to puzzle over.
I'll settle for the address, Jocko. Take a look.
Captain Edward Small, SS Calcutta, Paramount Line, Shanghai. Well, that's nice. Shall we have another drink?
Later, Jocko. Right now, we haven't got the time.
If that's who I think it is, Patsy, you're going to have lots of time. I'll just whip up a short one.
Novak talking.
Listen, smart boy, and listen hard. This is for the last time. You check in here in 10 minutes, or I'll send out an all points. Dead or alive, Novak.
All right, Hellman. There's a dead guy here in my apartment right now. His name's Captain Edward Small, off the Calcutta.
I don't need any more bodies, Novak. I can hang you twice with what I got.
All right, copper. But if you want your picture in the paper tomorrow, you can meet me out in C-Clip in 15 minutes. 48 Camino Drive. When I hung up the phone, most of the puzzle straightened out like wet wash in a dry wind. Well, there's one thing you can count on. When you bet on miracles, you buy a ticket straight through. I finally pulled up at the Lampson place, and I started looking around for Hellman. The joint looked about as crowded as a Kremlin breakfast for Senator Taft. I was taking a fast check, trying to figure how far they could have gone, when Hellman fought his way through the box hedge by the driveway. We circled down behind the garage and around and back of the house. We just made it in time for the curtain scene. Sheila Lampson was backing down slow toward the seawall, waving her arms in the air and begging every inch of the way. And Georgie stumbled after her like the avenging angel, and she had a gun. She had a coat tossed over her hospital gown, and the look in her eyes told the whole story. Tears and hate and lots of bullets.
Novak, you've got to stop her. She's crazy. She's crazy. She wanted to kill me.
What's so crazy about that?
You're sweet, Patsy, but you weren't invited. Don't get too close to the animals.
It's your gun, Georgie. Don't let it hang you. This is Hellman from Homicide.
No good, Patsy. This one's for me. Isn't it, Sheila?
Georgie.
Isn't it for me?
Please, Georgie, don't. Novak, stop her. Stop her before it's too late.
All right, girls, let's break it up.
Be good, Copper. You too, Patsy.
It's your neck. It won't look good stretched.
Please, Georgie.
Don't eat that, Sheila. Not yet. First, I want to tell you how clever you are. How sweet you looked at my mother's funeral. How you ruined my father. How discreet with other men, Sheila. Oh, it was magnificent.
Georgie, please. I didn't know, Georgie. I didn't know. I swear I'll make it up to you. Please.
One other thing, Sheila. Listen to me, Sheila. Those emeralds you've got. The ones you sent Haynes to Shanghai for. The ones he killed my father for. They were glass, Sheila. 10-cent green glass. You hear, Sheila? Glass.
Please. Georgie, please.
Georgie, watch her. Sheila's got a gun.
Patsy.
Take it easy, baby. You got a long trip.
She's dead. Isn't she, Patsy? She's dead.
She didn't die, baby. With that much lead, she sank.
It burns, Patsy. It burns.
It'll cool. The fog's starting to come in.
Remember the party, Patsy?
Yeah, I remember.
Then say it, Patsy. Please say it now. Say it.
Yeah, Georgie, I'd say it, but you're not listening. We found a letter in Georgie's coat pocket that told most of the story, and then Hellman grabbed Mike and Sheila's sister and sweated the rest out of them. Well, it wasn't a pretty story, but it moved. When Sheila spent the professor broke and he checked out over in China, Georgie decided to blow the whistle on her. She made up that phony yarn about the emeralds, and then she let Haynes murder her father and walk off with him. They were glass. To make it look good, Haynes played pallbearer and took the boat back with the body. But not before Georgie tipped the captain and the first mate about that sack of emeralds Haynes was supposed to have. So they went to work. They robbed Haynes and planted a fake for a fake. It was a real cat and mouse game. Georgie only made one mistake, but sometimes that's all it takes. She flew back here a few days before the Calcutta got in so that she could be around for the payoff. One of Sheila's pals must have spotted her and trailed her to my place. And then the sapping started. That was the same night the Calcutta got in, and people started checking packages and pulling triggers. When Sheila found her package was a fake, she figured Haynes was being cute, so he got it first. And then she went out after that original fake. She tried to double up and hang Haynes' body on me and get rid of Georgie at the same time. But Georgie didn't die easy. I don't know how the captain got on the move, probably through Sheila. But her Gunsel friends took care of the first mate with a knife when he got anxious. Well, when the dust lifted and they counted cold noses, it was a real devil's game. Wherever he was, Georgie's old man must have been holding his sides and rolling in the aisles. Yeah, a real plum. And Sheila found out when you get close enough to the seed, the taste gets bitter. Well, Hellman asked only one question. How come a smart girl like Georgie bought something as stupid as revenge? I don't know. She was a lot better at a lot of other things.
Cast included Lois Andrews, Steve Brody, Herbert Litton, Jerry Hausner, Ivan Ditmars, Ray Erlenborn, and Hal Sawyer. This is a Larry Finley transcription, brought to you from Hollywood.
To hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, brings you Dragnet on on both radio and television.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. A woman reports the disappearance of her 30-year-old brother. He's been missing for only 2 days, but the manner of his disappearance was sudden, out of the ordinary. Your job? Investigate. Fatima, America's first largest-selling blended cigarette. Fatima. Now, best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Prove it yourself today. Compare Fatima with the king-size cigarette you are now smoking.
1. Fatima's length filters the smoke 85 millimeters for your protection.
2. Fatima's length cools the smoke for your protection.
3. Fatima's length gives you those extra puffs, 21% longer than standard cigarette size.
And in Fatima, you get an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality.
Definitely the best quality in its class, but the same price as the cigarette you're now smoking.
Buy Fatima in the bright sunny yellow pack. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, November 14th. It was overcast in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Ed Jacobs. The boss is Captain Lorman. My name's Friday. We were on the way out from the office, and it was 8:56 a.m. when we got to the S&H Paper Company on 4th Street, the rear entrance.
Where do we find her, Joe? Upstairs?
No, main floor. She told me we'd find her in the timekeeper's office. She said it was near the back door entrance. We couldn't miss it.
Let's give a look down the corridor, huh? Maybe one of the workers can tell us.
Yeah, right. Looks like some kind of an office there, doesn't it? Just beyond the time clock?
Let's see. Paymaster, head timekeeper. Yeah, that's it.
The door's locked, Ed. You want to rap on the pay window?
Yeah.
Yes?
Police officers, ma'am. We have an appointment with Miss Edith Tabor.
Oh, yes, officers. I'm Edith Tabor. Just a moment, please. I'll ring the buzzer. Just push on the door.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Go ahead, Ed.
All right.
Are you the one I talked to on the phone, Sergeant Friday?
Yes, ma'am, that's right. This is my partner, Sergeant Jacobs.
How do you do?
This is about your brother, Miss Tabor. Ralph Tabor, is that right?
Yes, that's right. I know there must be something wrong. Ralph's been gone since Sunday. No one's seen him. No one's heard from him. I'm worried sick about it.
Last time you saw him was on Sunday?
No, I didn't actually see him. I talked to him on the phone. We made a date for dinner. Ralph and I always have dinner together Sunday nights. About the only time in the week we do get to see each other.
I see. I believe you told me on the phone you already checked with most of his friends, the places he'd most likely be. Is that right?
I've called everyone I can think of. No one's seen him.
Your brother's never done anything like this before, miss? Going off without telling anyone?
No, never. I'm very worried, Sergeant.
Can you think of any reason at all why he'd want to disappear of his own free will, I mean?
No. No reason in the world for it. He seemed perfectly all right when I talked to him on the phone Sunday. Everything was fine. We made a date for the movies Tuesday night. That was for last night. Picture downtown we wanted to see. He made a special point of it. I just know something must have happened.
Mm-hmm. I gather you know most of your brother's friends. You've kept in fairly close touch with him, haven't you?
Yes, we get together at least once a week, as I say. I'm 4 years older than Ralph. I've looked after him since we were kids. We've always been together, the last 5 or 6 years especially, ever since Mama died.
Your brother in a pretty stable mental condition, was he? No financial worries, nothing of that kind?
No, sir, nothing I know about.
I'd like to double-check this information that you gave me on the phone, Miss Tabor.
Mm-hmm.
The name and address and his description.
Yes,
right?
sir. Mm-hmm.
The full name, Ralph Lawrence Tabor, 14316 Almaden Street, male, white American, occupation, interior decorator. Is that it?
Yes, that's right.
Height, 5'11", 155 pounds, dark blonde hair, gray eyes, fair complexion, birthmark on left side of neck.
Yes, that's all correct.
Your brother in the habit of carrying large sums of money around with him, do you know?
No, not that I know of. He has a good job. He's not getting rich at it, though. I don't think I've ever seen Ralph with more than $20 or $30 on him at a time.
Mm-hmm. Who was the last person to see him, miss? You any idea?
Well, I talked to Ralph's landlady. She told me she saw Ralph and this friend of his, Andy Howard, going into Ralph's apartment. That was about 6 o'clock Sunday night. Ralph was supposed to meet me at 7:30, never showed up.
Now, this friend of your brother's, Miss Tabor, this Andy Howard, are you acquainted with him?
Yes, but I don't know him too well. I only met him 2 or 3 times. He lives in the apartment house next door to Ralph's, so the two of them were friends in the Navy together during the war. Good friends.
You tried to get in touch with this Andy Howard?
Yes. I called Ralph's apartment when he didn't show up for our dinner date Sunday night. There wasn't any answer, so I looked up Andy's number in the phone book and called him.
Mm-hmm. Was he at home?
Yes. Tried to talk to him, but it didn't do much good. Strange.
How's that?
He pretended he didn't even know me.
After we finished our interview with Edith Tabor, Ed Jacobs and I started out to double-check with all the known friends and associates of her brother. We talked to his employer and the people he worked with. None of them had seen him subsequent to 6 o'clock Sunday night. None of them could think of any good reason why he suddenly would want to pick up and leave his job and friends. The people he knew outside of his work told us the same thing. Nobody could explain it. Along the way, we inquired about Ralph Tabor's friend, Andy Howard. Most of the people we talked to knew him as a close friend of Tabor's. We checked at Howard's place of employment, but they told us he hadn't shown up for work since the previous Friday. We drove to Howard's apartment, checked with the manager, and he said that Howard had moved without notice late Sunday night. We crossed over to the apartment house next door, where Tabor lived, and talked to the landlady, a Mrs. Higbee. She corroborated the story we'd gotten from Tabor's sister that Andy Howard was last seen entering Tabor's apartment at about 6 o'clock Sunday night. Tabor was with him. Mrs. Higbee was sure of that. She showed us up to the 3rd floor to Ralph Tabor's apartment. The 2 rooms and the adjoining kitchenette were immaculate. There wasn't a thing out of place.
Neat as a pin, Joe, not a thing out of order.
Yeah, it's the same in the bedroom. Say, Mrs. Higbee.
Yes, Sergeant.
Do you provide maid service with the apartments here?
No, we don't. We've been thinking about it, though. Haven't quite made up our minds. Such a task, getting good, competent help these days.
And the tenants are responsible for the entire upkeep, huh?
Yes. Everything but painting, wallpapering, things like that. Doesn't Mr. Tabor keep things spotless? Just spotless?
Yes, ma'am. There's just one thing I wanted to ask you about. It's over here by the window.
Yes.
Now, this wire here, apparently an aerial connection for a television set. Looks like...
Yes. Mr. Tabor does have a television. Why?
Well, I don't notice a set anywhere in the apartment. Would you happen to recall if he sent it out for repairs, anything like that?
No, not that I know of. Besides, this doesn't seem like Mr. Tabor at all.
How do you mean, Miss Higbee?
Well, he's always so neat, fastidious. The end of that wire there looks like it was torn off the connection, doesn't it? Along the windowsill, too. Isn't that terrible? Fasteners for the wire ripped right out of the woodwork. That certainly doesn't seem like Mr. Tabor.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else besides him have access to this apartment, ma'am?
No one that I know of. No one besides myself, I mean. I have duplicate keys to all the apartments. Well, I just happened to think.
Yes, ma'am?
If a repairman did move the set out, it's possible my houseboy might know about it. Sam, that's my houseboy.
How would he know about it?
Well, it's a rule of the house. All furniture, heavy things like that, they have to be taken down in the freight elevator. It opens right onto the alley in back of the building. It's very handy.
Yes, ma'am.
Sam's the only one who operates that elevator. That's why I say it's possible he might know about it. Would you like to have me ask him?
I wonder if you would, please.
Oh, surely. It won't take but a minute, and I'll be right back.
Thank you, Miss Higgins.
Joe, you want to have a look over here?
Yeah. What do you got?
This wall bed here. I tried to pull it down. It's stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Stand right here. Oh, over here. See if you notice anything.
Yeah, I do. You want to give me a hand? See if we can't get the bed down?
Yeah.
Push it on your side, then.
Okay.
That's it. Okay. It's coming down now.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Tabor, you think?
Well, the description seems to fit. Beaten to death looks like, doesn't it?
Something sticking out under the bed covers there.
Yeah, it's a claw hammer. Stains all over it.
Vicious. Guess a killer wanted to make sure.
It's one of the worst I've seen.
Feel sorry for the sister. She was pretty close to him. It's going to be tough on her.
No tougher than it was for him. 2:38 p.m. We phoned the office, told them what we'd found, and then we put in a call for Lieutenant Lee Jones and the crime lab crew. While we were waiting, we questioned the landlady again, Mrs. Higbee. She said her houseman, Sam, told her he knew nothing about a television set being moved out of Ralph Tabor's apartment. However, it was possible somebody could have taken the set down in the main elevator late at night without being seen. Mrs. Higbee also told us that Tabor had a car. We checked the apartment garage, but it was gone. All Mrs. Higbee could tell us was that it was a late model car and that Tabor often loaned it to his friend, Andy Howard. Sergeants Al Shambra and Joe LaMonica from Homicide arrived, and together the four of us interviewed the employees and the tenants in the apartment building. They gave us little or nothing at all. A few minutes before 3 p.m., the crime lab crew showed up and started their preliminary investigation. We put in a call for the coroner. From the obvious lack of fingerprints in usual places around the apartment, it was apparent that the murderer had taken great precautions to cover his tracks. 3:35 p.m. The deputy coroner arrived, and after the preliminary investigation was finished, the body was removed to the county morgue. Ed and I went back to the office, checked our DMV, and got out on all points on Tabor's car, and also on the friend he was last seen with, Andy Howard. R&I turned up a single entry for Howard's criminal record, a drunk driving charge. 5:20 p.m., we met with Edith Tabor and broke the news of her brother's death. When she recovered from the shock, we interviewed her briefly.
It was Andy Howard. I know it was him. It had to be.
Why do you say that, Miss Tabor? There's something about this man Howard you haven't told us?
He's no good, Sergeant. He's no good at all. That's what I've been afraid of. I've been afraid of it right along.
Well, just how do you mean, ma'am? He's no good.
He's a tramp, a bum. Won't get a job. He's been living off my brother. He isn't normal. There's something wrong with him.
Well, how is it your brother put up with him?
Well, I told you he and Ralph were friends in the Navy. He did a big favor for Ralph once. He's been living off it ever since. Taking his clothes, borrowing his car, money, never paying it back.
Why do you think he killed your brother, miss?
I just know it, that's all. He did it.
He ever fight with your brother? Would you happen to know? Did he ever threaten him?
They had a big fight one night, about 2 weeks ago, I think. Andy kept sponging until Ralph got good and sick of it. Told Andy to go out and get a job. That's when the fight started.
You saw it, did you?
Ralph told me about it. Fist fight in the alley back of the apartment. Ralph knocked Andy down. Andy said he'd never forget it. He'd pay Ralph back. A couple of days after that, my brother said the two of them made up. Everything was all right. Ralph should have known better. He should have known better.
Mm-hmm. Just a few more questions, Miss Tabor. Can you tell us anything about Andy Howard's background, where he's from, who his friends are, places he usually goes?
No. I didn't know much about him. He's from the South, I think, Alabama. Ralph's friends can tell you more about him than I can.
All right. Had you heard anything lately about Howard planning to move out of his apartment?
No, nothing. When I heard that he did move and Ralph was missing, I knew something was wrong. That's why I called you. If I'd only known before. Poor Ralph, if I only knew.
Well, try to take it easy, ma'am. We'll arrange for a car to drive you home, all right?
It's so hard to understand. It's hard. For anyone to kill Ralph like that, horrible. He was so good. He was my brother.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you say to a man who kills your brother? How do you understand him? What do you tell him?
Well, why even try?
What?
Let the jury tell him. Before we had the victim's sister, Edith Tabor, driven to her home, we asked her about the television set in her brother's apartment, but she was unable to explain its absence. Burglary detail had already been notified about the case, and the pawn shop detail alerted. An APB had been gotten out containing a complete description of the TV set along with the serial numbers. A few minutes after we got back from dinner that night, we had an answer on it. A pawn shop operator on West 7th Street called in with the information that he'd taken in a television set with identical description and serial numbers as that of Tabor's. Ed and I drove out to the pawn shop and checked the operator's buy book. The set had been pawned the day after the murder. The serial numbers and description matched in every detail. The description and signature of the man who pawned it matched perfectly with that of Ralph Tabor's friend, Andy Howard. The set was impounded, and just on a chance, we had Dean Bergman dust it for latent fingerprints.
Dean? Oh, hi, Ed, Friday.
How you making out? Any luck?
It's not bad. Have a look here. Yeah. Picked up 4 sets of prints off it, all told. These here are the dead man's.
Yeah.
These here, they belong to the pawn shop operator.
Mm-hmm.
These belong to his son, helps him in the shop.
Yeah.
Guess this is the one you're looking for. 2 clean index prints.
Did you classify them?
Checked them against prints from Andrew Howard's package.
Yeah.
They match.
When we checked in for work the following morning, we got the coroner's report on Ralph Tabor. Cause of death was listed as cerebral hemorrhage and multiple fractures of the skull caused by blows from a heavy blunt object. The other reports from the crime lab didn't give us much help. The better part of the next 3 days, Ed and I, along with Al Shambra and Joe LaMonica, held detailed interviews with the known friends and associates of the murder victim, Ralph Tabor, and the #1 suspect, Andy Howard. The information we picked up was incorporated in a supplementary all-points bulletin and gotten out immediately. We found out that Andy Howard had a sailor's uniform in his possession, and though unauthorized, he wore it frequently. It bore the insignia of a quartermaster first class on the sleeve. We also found out Howard had identical tattoos on each forearm, the picture of an unfurled American flag with the name Betty D below it. We had the city covered for the suspect. 4 days passed. No trace of him. Saturday, November 24th. We got an urgent call from Homicide Commander Lieutenant Mort Gear in San Diego.
On the highway? Uh-huh. When was that, Mort? I see. Hey, Joe, you got a pencil there?
Yeah, here you go.
Thanks. Hey, Mort, you're pretty sure, huh? Uh-huh. Well, yeah, it seems to tie in all right. How's that? Well, I don't know for sure. We'll check with Captain Norman right now and let you know. Yeah, thanks, Mark. Goodbye. Good brief.
What do you have to say?
One of their traffic men down there, a fellow by the name of Jack Ladd, stopped a car on the highway going out of town speeding.
Yeah.
Ladd says a man answers Andy Howard's description perfectly, right down to the tattoo on the forearm. No doubt about the car the guy was driving was Tabor's description and license number. Even used Tabor's identification.
When did all this happen?
The day after the murder. They would have held the man, but they didn't have the information at the time.
That's a bum break. Which way was Howard going, did they tell you?
Yeah, into town. They figure he's still there someplace.
How do you mean?
Found the car an hour ago, abandoned.
10 minutes after the phone call from San Diego, Captain Lorman checked back in at the office, and Ed and I met with him. We told him about the information San Diego had phoned in, and he gave Ed and I an immediate okay for the trip south. We went down to the garage, picked up a car, and 6 hours later, we checked in with Sergeant Russ Ormsby, San Diego Homicide.
What's this, another fishing trip, or are we doing business this time?
Afraid it's all business, Russ, the Andy Howard thing. Mort Gear around?
No, I won't be back till later. I can brief you on it, though. McGuire and I have been working it on this end.
Well, how about Tabor's car? You still got it staked out?
Yeah, no nibbles yet. What do you figure? If nothing happens, pull it in tomorrow, process it for prints?
Yeah.
We've had something warmer than that since Mort Gear called you. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, what do you got?
Only came up with it a couple of hours ago. Field interrogation card, made out last night, west end of town.
Mm-hmm.
Beat officer by the name of Driscoll questioned a man and a girl parked in a car out that way last night. There's a description on the man.
Thanks, Russ. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Fits Howard all the way, Ed, here.
Mm-hmm. Couldn't get much closer, huh?
We checked out the car they were in. Belongs to the girl.
Yeah. Look here, Ed. He's still using Tabor's identification.
Yeah.
All right, where's it go from here, Russ? You got this Andy Howard spotted?
No. Beat man Driscoll, he didn't know the guy from Adam.
Yeah, well, where's that leave us?
The girl Howard was with. Driscoll knew her.
We contacted the beat officer, Driscoll. The girl who'd been spotted sitting in a parked car the night before with murder suspect Andy Howard was identified as Helen McClung, a waitress in a downtown cocktail bar. A stakeout was placed in her apartment, and she was brought in for interrogation.
Well, he's not a good friend of mine. I don't know where he lives. Don't know what he does. I hardly even know him, Sergeant.
You were out for a drive with him the night before last, that right?
Sure, I don't deny that. We went out for a ride. That's all there is to it.
You sure you don't know where this man lives, Helen?
Not exactly, no. He's staying at a hotel downtown, I think. We went for a ride, and I dropped him off at the bus line. That's all there was to it.
Do you expect to see him again? You have any dates with him in the next couple of days?
No. Tell you the truth, I thought I had a date. Didn't work out. Nothing ever works out. Phone this morning, called it off.
Tell you why?
He gave some lame excuse. I found out the real reason, though.
What's that? You mind telling us?
No, I don't mind. Got a date with my girlfriend instead. Claire Peterson. Burned me up a little, but I don't mind.
Well, where's your girlfriend live, Helen?
You mean Claire? Out on Rose Avenue, 1500 block. I'm not sure, though.
Is he going to pick her up there?
I guess so. Why?
When's the date for, do you know?
Yeah, tomorrow night.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action.
Compare Fatima with your present king-size cigarette.
Yes, compare Fatima with the king-size cigarette you are now smoking.
1. Fatima's length filters the smoke 85 millimeters for your protection.
2. Fatima's length cools the smoke for your protection.
3. Fatima's length gives you those extra puffs, 21% longer than standard cigarette size.
And in Fatima, you get an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality.
Friends, to show our confidence in Fatima, to convince you quickly, dramatically, that Fatima is the best of all king-size cigarettes. We make this money-back guarantee.
Buy a pack of Fatimas. Enjoy Fatima quality, extra mildness, and superbly blended tobaccos.
If you're not convinced Fatima is better than the king-size cigarette you're now smoking, just return the pack and the unsmoked Fatimas before April 1st, and we'll give you your money back plus postage. Fatima, Box 37, New York 1.
Remember, each king-size Fatima gives you an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality.
Switch to Fatima today. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Monday, November 26th, 10 a.m. After checking her name through San Diego R&I, we finally located the address of the girl Claire Peterson, who was supposed to have a date with our murder suspect Andy Howard that night. She lived in a small apartment house in the southeast end of town. The manager told us that she'd already left for work. We ran it down. The Peterson girl was employed as a cutter in a shirt factory down in the industrial district. We questioned her at her work. A tall, attractive girl, blonde, blue eyes, a small scar on her chin. She kept working while we talked to her.
Yeah, I have a date with Ralph Tabor tonight. Something the matter?
Afraid so, Miss Peterson. The first place, his name isn't Ralph Tabor.
No, I'm sorry. You must be wrong, officer. I was out with him just last Monday. I know that's his name, son. Everything he has, his car, his wallet, all his business papers. Guess you must have made a mistake.
No, it's no mistake, man. We checked it out pretty thoroughly. We'd like to talk to you about him if we could, please.
Well, there's not too much to tell. I just met him Monday night. It was with my girlfriend, Helen. He wanted to go out with me, so I made a date. I didn't think there was anything wrong.
You said he's to meet you at your apartment, Miss Peterson. Did he give any specific time when he'd be there?
8 or 8:30, he said. Hey, what's wrong, do you know? There's something wrong with the man. I ought to know, don't you think?
We want him for questioning, ma'am. You any idea where he lives?
No, I haven't. One of the hotels downtown, I think. 5th Street or 6th Street. I wouldn't know for sure. Why do you want him? Can't you tell me, please?
We believe he's committed a murder, Miss Peterson. Matter of fact, we're sure of it.
What do you want me to do?
If he calls up before your date tonight, don't do anything to discourage him. Tell him to meet you. If he wants to postpone the date, try and make him come tonight. If you can't do that, try and find out where he's staying. And don't let him know we talked to you.
Well, all right, I can try. You'll be there when he comes to my apartment, I mean.
Yes, ma'am, we'll be there. You'll be protected all the way.
Well, what do you do?
Ma'am?
What do you do? You say he's a murderer. He must be desperate. What do you do? How do you arrest him?
It's his choice, ma'am, any way he wants it. As soon as we left the plant where the Peterson girl worked, we called Sergeant Tony McGuire at San Diego Homicide Detail, and he made arrangements for an immediate stakeout at the girl's apartment. At 7 p.m., Ed and I, along with Russ Ormsby and Tony McGuire, drove out to supplement the men on stakeout at the girl's apartment. 8 o'clock, 9, 9:30, 10 p.m., still no sign of the suspect. At midnight, our relief team showed up, and we headed back for the office. When we got there was a bulletin from the Highway Patrol reporting that earlier that night, a man partially identified as Andy Howard had been seen heading north from San Diego on U.S. Highway 101 toward Los Angeles. We got Captain Lorman on the phone, briefed him on the latest developments, and told him that photographs of the suspect had been distributed to all officers. The next 10 hours failed to turn up anything new. San Diego officers continued to cover their end. 11:15 p.m. the next day. We drove back to Los Angeles and reported in at homicide. There was a note in the book from Lorman asking us to check in early the following morning, so Ed and I signed out and went home to get some sleep. The next morning, 1:45 a.m. Hello, Friday talking.
Sorry to wake you up, Friday. This is Hawkins down at the business office.
Oh, yeah, Hawkins. What do you got?
Beat officer out in Wilshire called in 2 or 3 minutes ago. He figures he has your murder suspect for you, Andy Howard. Bring him in now.
Well, what about identification? He checked that over?
No identification. He's wearing a sailor's uniform.
What about insignia, his rating?
Quartermaster first class.
After I hung up, I phoned Ed, got him out of bed, and the two of us drove down to the office where we picked up the suspect and took him to the interrogation room. During the interrogation, we found a wallet concealed on his person. It contained a driver's license, credit card, and half a dozen other means of identification. All of them were made out to Ralph Tabor. After an hour of questioning, he'd still admit nothing. He sat hunched over in his chair, tearing an old envelope into small pieces and dropping them on the floor in front of him.
This will make the 10th time I told you. I don't know what happened to Ralph. I didn't take his car or his television set. I didn't leave the city. I wasn't in San Diego last week. Now, if you don't believe me, you prove I'm lying.
We didn't pull you in on the guess, Andy. We'll prove it.
You mind telling me how?
We got 3 people on their way in here right now. Ralph Tabor's sister, his landlady, a man by the name of Sims, pawn shop dealer. Mean anything to you?
My word against theirs.
3-1, mister. They got the odds in their favor.
Look, why don't we straighten this out once and for all? You think I killed my friend Ralph. Why? Explain it to me. Why should I kill him?
Look, I wouldn't know, Andy. Maybe you'd like to tell us. His sister says he was pretty good to you.
She was good to me. I guess she didn't tell you what I did for him overseas when we were in the Navy together.
No, she didn't tell us.
She wouldn't. Stupid women. I haven't found one of them worth anything. Frustrated. She needs a husband. That's her trouble.
She claims her brother was paying the bills for you, Andy. He gave you clothes, money, his car. She says you were living off of him.
Lousy woman. That's all the thanks I get for all I did for Ralph. I borrowed a few dollars, yeah. That's all. Kept throwing it up to me, him and his sister, after all I did for him.
What are you trying to say, Andy?
Could have been different, Ralph and me. What do you want me to say?
Did you kill him? Did you kill him, Andy?
You can't explain it that way. It's not as simple as that.
Didn't?
No, it's all mixed up together. It's complicated. It's not simple at all. I mean, with your best friend especially. It's more of a mistake. I mean, morally, I didn't mean to kill him. I just did. It's a mistake. Terrible mistake.
You want to give us a statement, Howard? Stenographer will take it down.
Oh, yeah, all right, in a minute. Just want to make sure you understand. I mean about Ralph. And all I did for him.
Yeah.
No gratitude at all. You blame me? I mean, after all I did for him, you blame me?
Well, you should have remembered, Andy, about gratitude.
Yeah?
Doesn't mean much when you have to ask for it.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On February 4th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 89, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
And now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, you've been listening to Dragnet for the past 28 minutes. Now, it'll take you less than 28 seconds to prove that Fatima is the best of all king-size cigarettes. Just compare Fatima with the king-size cigarette you're now smoking. Fatima filters the smoke through a long distance of 85 millimeters. Fatima's length cools the smoke for your protection. Fatima's length gives you those extra puffs, 21% longer than standard cigarette size. And in Fatima, you get an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality. Prove it today. Buy Fatima.
Andrew Thomas Howard was tried and convicted of murder in the second degree. He is now serving his term in the state penitentiary, San Quentin, California. Second-degree murder is punishable by imprisonment from 5 years to life.
Ladies and gentlemen, right now, inflation is America's #1 menace on the home front. It's the one enemy that can lick America. We can help prevent this by working harder, working better. The fight against inflation will succeed only if all of us get behind it.
You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Heard tonight were Barney Phillips, Joyce McCluskey, and Virginia Gregg. Script by Jim Moser. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Next, it's David Harding and Counter Spy on NBC.
Hey, Jerry, come here. I want to... Oh, George, you shouldn't have walked between Jerry and me.
Oh, I'm sorry, fellas.
Wilford, your bread and butter, Dan.
Bread and butter.
What goes up in the chimney?
Smoke.
What do you smoke?
Chesterfield.
Right, and that's our bread and butter.
Which means that Chesterfield, the only cigarette in America to give you premium quality in both regular and king size, brings you the Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis Show. Listen, Chesterfield, goodbye by Chesterfield regular acting price. Either way, the best of both. Best possible smoke for all you folks. Round off for Chesterfield. Round off for Chesterfield.
And do it today.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to bring you our master of ceremonies, Dean Martin.
Well, hi there, everybody. Here it is. Time to do our weekly Tuesday night sounding off for Chesterfield. My partner, Jerry Lewis, will be bounding in on the next pogo stick. So while we're waiting for the boisterous little bounder, what do you say we start things humming with a tuneful little earful of music? So, Richard, it is you is or is you ain't my conductor. Is you is all that you ain't my baby. The way you're acting lately makes me down. You is still my baby, baby. Means my flame in your heart's done gone out. A woman is a creature that has always been seen. Just when you're sure of one, you find she's gone. May the change, oh, if you is all, if you ain't my baby. Maybe, baby, found somebody new. Or is you ain't, or is you is my baby. Folks, and right now...
Shut the window, lock the door, they're after me, they're after me.
Oh, it's Jerry Lewis. All right, now, Jerry, you just calling yourself down. Now, who's after you?
The finance company, they want to take back my arm.
Oh, now, wait a minute. What makes you think the finance company wants to take back your arm?
I missed 2 payments on my vaccination.
Yeah. I find out new things about you every day. I know all about the 6 years we've worked together, but what about your childhood?
Well, when I was born, I was very young. I was nothing years old. And until I was 5 years old, I couldn't see.
Couldn't see?
No, my mother was nearsighted. She kept diapering the wrong end.
I imagine your father must have had some plans for your future. Tell me, Jeff, when your father first saw you, what did he want you to be?
Somebody else's son.
Besides that, what business did he want you to go into?
Same thing as my uncle.
You mean your artist uncle, the one who makes the hand-painted matzo balls?
No, Uncle Hesse. He's an inspector in a tiddlywink factory.
like a civil service job. An inspector in a tiddlywink factory?
Oh, he was a specialist, you understand. It was his job to decide which were a boy tiddlywinks and which were a girl tiddlywinks.
You mean there was a way he could tell the difference between the guys and dolls?
Oh, to be sure. As the tiddlies came down the assembly line, my uncle would wink at them.
And the tiddlies that winked back
was the girl.
Yeah, I never thought I'd wind up working with someone who comes from a family of tiddlywinks.
Martin, you've insulted my family, and we Lewises don't take these things lightly. We're a proud clan, and I therefore challenge you to a duel. You may choose your own field of honor.
But, Jerry, I don't have any field.
Then we're even. I don't have any honor. Here's my card.
Your card? What's this thing here?
That's the family coat of arms. 2 cross salamis on a field of chopped liver.
Now, look, Jerry, you don't mean a real duel with pistols, do you?
Wait. Do you understand? We shall meet tomorrow morning at dawn. And if I'm not there by 6 o'clock,
yeah?
start without me.
Yeah, you must be kidding about all this.
Hardly, Mr. Martin. We shall settle this insult in blood. I'm going now.
Where?
To get some.
I'll be seeing you.
What?
I said I'll be seeing you. I'll be seeing you.
In every lovely summer's day.
And everything that's light and gay.
I'll always think of you that way.
I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the night is through,
I'll be looking at the moon.
I'll be Well, friends, you know there's nothing quite so blue as the blues when they're set to music. But when a songwriter stirs up the usual blues and throws in a few sentimental wedding bells for good measure, he's liable to have cooked up one of the season's top hit blue ballads. And here it is. I went to your wedding. Although I was dreading the thought of losing you, the organ was playing, my poor heart kept saying, your dreams. Your mother was crying. Your father was crying. And I was crying too. The teardrops were falling because we were Mr. Lewis.
As you recall, you have insulted my family, and I challenged you to a duel. However, we'll have to call off the duel because of something I just found out.
What is that?
I'm a coward.
Well, it's just as well we called it off, Sheriff. If we didn't, we might have been arrested. After all, we have laws in this country. And tonight, I've invited as our guest a star who is a staunch supporter of law enforcement on his own shows. A dynamic young personality of radio and TV, the star of Dragnet, Jack Webb! Jerry, this is Jack Webb from Dragnet TV.
Well, how do you do? I'm Jerry Lewis from Newark, NJ.
No, Jerry, I'm from the television show, Dragnet.
Oh, I saw you last week on a new set Dean gave me for Christmas.
Jerry, that wasn't a TV set I gave you. It was a washing machine.
No wonder the cops and robbers were chasing each other in their underwear.
I'm sorry you missed the real thing, Jerry. It was the story of a policeman who guarded the catch of the fishing fleet.
Yeah, it was called the Cape Cod Kipper Keeper Cooper Caper.
The Cape Cod Kipper Keeper Cooper Caper?
You heard him, Jerry. The Cape Cod Kipper Keeper Cooper Caper.
Now, the villain was a camper named Cooper who worked in a bottle factory. First as a corker, then as a capper. Yeah, you see, the fishing boat was a clipper, and the thief was killed in the church steeple. There was a big bell up there, and he was clobbered with a clapper.
Oh, the Cape Cod Clipper.
What, Jerry?
We couldn't get Sam's pay?
No. I invited you here to see if you could help me. After all, we have something in common. Our sponsor.
Yeah, that's right, Dean. On Dragnet, I work for Chesterfield, and on your show, you work for Chesterfield.
That's right, Jerry. We're both working for Chesterfield.
Sometimes I wish we were working for money.
Now, Jack, here's my problem. Jerry tells me to a duel, and, well, I'd sure hate to put a bullet between his eyes.
Well, that's impossible, Dean. Between his eyes, there ain't room for a bullet.
Because I have a very skinny head.
Yeah. Jerry, look, we have laws against dueling, same as we have laws against speeding. A car can be a very dangerous weapon.
I'll say, yesterday I was crossing the street when I saw a car coming at me. I ran up 3 flights of stairs into my apartment, rushed into the closet, and locked the door.
What happened?
He got me anyway.
A thing like that calls for at least a ticket.
You did? I paid a $10 fine.
You paid a fine for what?
Running without a license.
Well, that's terrible, Jerry. What happened to the driver of the car that hit you?
Nothing, Dean, but he won't get away.
Well, you mean you got his number?
No, but I'll never forget his laugh.
You'll never forget his laugh.
Pardon me, sir. Would you do that again?
Certainly.
Mr. Webb, would you please get your car out of my closet?
Stop it, Jerry. If anyone looks out for public safety, it's Jack Webb. Millions of people listen to and watch his show every week.
Well, thanks, Dean, but it's the kids I'd like to reach. Unfortunately, most of them are only interested in fairy tales.
Well, tonight, why don't you do a fairy tale as you would do it on your Dragnet show?
Well, that's swell. I'd like to, but I'm not prepared.
We are. Fenneman, come here, you old hound dog.
The Chesterfield much milder players bring you king-size Dean Martin and Jack Webb with regular-size Jerry Lewis. In a hastily rehearsed play about the 3 bears, our version of Dragnet concerns a blonde moll called Goldilocks, who woke up with not one curl of her golden tresses out of place. And it's entitled Hairnet. This is the city. There's nothing around here but chipmunks, rabbits, trees, forests. This is the city. My name's Friday. I'm a cop. I wear yellow shoes, an Argyle beret, a plaid coat with satin lapels. I'm a plainclothesman.
Friday's younger brother. My name is Thursday. I'm a cop, too. All day long, I pound the beat. I make my own board.
I'm Friday's older brother. My name is a week from Tuesday. I'm a special agent for the Crime Commission. For every crime, I get a 10% commission.
Hello, Homicide. Thursday speaking. No, Saturday and Sunday are gone for the weekend. What's that? I'll get the police microphone. Calling all cars, calling car 84, Officer Farm Kid. Wipe your windshield. Someone is stealing your radiator cap. That is all.
Morning, Third.
Hi, Fry.
Anything new in the Three Bears case? They found out who tasted the little bear's porridge yet and made it all gone?
No, but I brought in our chief suspect, Goldilocks. I talked to her alone for an hour.
Does she know anything?
She does now.
Hi, Fry. Hi, Thurs.
Hi, week from June.
I just found a body out in the street.
Good. You may keep it for your honor.
But it was Goldilocks.
Goldilocks?
Yeah, she was found wearing a derby and flag.
Well, at least she died like a man.
Here's the hospital report on Father Bear. He's dead. They just performed the autopsy.
What did he die from?
The autopsy.
Hello? Homicide, Friday speaking. No, hi, Wednesday. Okay. Mama Bear's been murdered, too. She was pushed into a freezing vat at the popsicle factory.
Look, a report's coming in on the teletype. It's about the baby bear. It happened again.
You mean somebody tasted his porridge?
Worse than that. Somebody pinched his feet.
Sounds like the work of a Maroon gang. Let's go to the bear's house and investigate.
So we climbed into the car, and I got behind the wheel. I knew we were heading for trouble. I can't drive. It was really very foggy, so I followed the white line on the road. I drove for 20 miles, and then I found out what I was following wasn't a white line. It was a good humor truck with its vanilla leaking.
When we got to the bear's house, I peeked through the keyhole with one eye. I saw something very strange with my other eye. While I was peeking, someone wrapped the door around my head. In here, Furs, and week from. This is where the bears live.
How do you know this is the place where the bears live?
Look what's on the floor, a people skin rug.
And there's little baby bear. He's been murdered.
Yeah. His body's in a strange position. His back is arched and his legs are sticking up in the air. How do you figure it, Thurs?
Obvious. He was beaten to death with a contour chair.
Wait a minute. Are we sure this is the baby bear? There was something strange about the corpse. I checked the bear's fur more closely. It wasn't a bear at all. It was a mink-dyed halibut. I thought I smelled something fishy. Yeah, well, the killer must still be here. The body's still warm.
It should be. It's on the stove.
For a moment, I thought I had it. I'll tell you what. You examine the body for a bullet and then check with ballistics.
What's ballistic?
Well, I don't know, but on Dragnet we always say that.
Oh.
I'll search the closets for the killer. Nobody there. Nobody there. Nobody there.
searched high and low, but there were no more jokes left in the house, so we decided to search the barn.
It's awful dark in this barn.
Well, hold my hand, sirs.
Okay, Fry. Hey, Fry. Fry, where are you?
I'm over here.
And whose fingers am I holding?
Hey, I think I got the killer here.
Don't shoot. Don't shoot. I'll confess.
Who are you?
My name's Cooper.
Oh, you're the camper from the Cape Cod Kipper Keeper Cooper Caper.
Yeah, the fellow who works in the bottle factory as a corker and a capper. No, I used to. Now I work in a run factory as a carpet clipper.
Carpet clipper? I'm letting you go.
You're letting the killer go? Why?
It's easier than having to say this is the Cape Cod Camper Cooper Corker Capper Capper Carpet Clipper Keeper Capper Cooper Caper Carpet.
You did a swell job. You can think for me anytime.
Thanks, Jack, and you can guess for us any time, too. How about that, Jerry?
Splendid, old chap, splendid.
Say, look, how about you boys having lunch with me sometime?
Love to.
Not me. I went to a restaurant today, ate a businessman's lunch, and was thrown out.
You were thrown out for eating a businessman's lunch? Why?
The businessman wanted to eat it himself.
Look, Jack, I know you've got to be coming along now, but don't forget your job, you know. Get him.
Yes, sir. Get everybody to change to Chesterfield. Friends, Dean, Jerry, and I wouldn't ask you to try Chesterfield if we didn't know Chesterfield is best for you.
That's because they're first to give you scientific evidence on the effects of smoking.
And that's because only Chesterfield gives you premium quality in both regular and king size.
That's right, folks. Chesterfield is best for you. Regular or king size. They give you all the pleasure the modern cigarette can give.
So your job, get 'em. Get Chesterfield today.
Well, so long, boys. It was swell being here. Good night.
Good night, Jack, and thank you so much.